Well, we made it to the end of the year and the final episode of Season 1. And what better way to cap it off than with the longest episode yet with fellow comedian and podcaster extraordinaire. He's been having an incredible run this year on his podcast, Just Chill, with Oliver George. So happy New Year. Hopefully it's, can't really get any worse, can it? So we'll see you on the patios next year. All right, let's go. Burn through too much material in the banter before you.
Dude, that always happens too. I'll pick people up sometimes for a podcast, and you make small talk, and you're like, get into something good. No, stop.
Yeah, save it for the reel, for the film.
And I've had people react weirdly to that too, where they're like, dude, I'm just talking. Like,
I know, right?
No, but this is gold. You don't understand.
I know. All right, let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Happy Hour with Sad Comedians. I'm here today at Big Rig with Oliver George.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Hey, man, it's I was really looking forward to doing this because we just did a documentary interview with you about a couple of weeks ago.
Which was kind of a podcast.
Which was basically a podcast. Like, I still have the footage. I mean, I could just interslice that the whole thing, but I learned so much about your whole process through the thing, but I wanted to just sit down and have a chat, have a beer.
No, man, I really appreciate it because I love being on this side, and I feel like nobody ever asked me. I don't know why. I don't know. I like to think I'm approachable, but who knows? But yeah, it's fun to be like the interviewee, you know?
Well, I guess you probably seem busy because, man, how many episodes have you done on season 1? You just wrapped up season 1?
Yeah, I did 32 by the end. But that's with the pandemic, I feel like that was pretty good.
Yeah. That's very impressive, actually.
Pandemic hit, I think, I couldn't remember exactly how long. I'd have to check YouTube. But there was like maybe 2 months where I just stopped and focused on family. And like I told you guys, my fiance and I are both hospital workers. So
thank you for your service.
Well, thank you. I'm on call. I'm mainly stay-at-home dad, but I pick up shifts whenever I can. And she's the real hero. She's an ICU nurse. So, she deals with real frontline shit.
Yeah.
And then the kids were out of school all of a sudden, so that was a bit of a hectic nightmare. And
yeah, I was there.
Yeah,
the kids at 24/7. Just like, oh man, it's nice to have the kids in school right now.
Yeah,
in daycare. It's like, oh my god. Until whatever the next shutdown, but
I've never done daycare. We're lucky like that. No, because she works as a nurse, and they have kind of rotating schedules.
Flexible,
She does like 12-hour shifts, like 4 in a row, and then she'll get 5 days off. So that schedule is constantly like flowing on the calendar.
Yeah,
it's never
so
really
you can
like
each cover for each other, basically.
Yeah, so when she has her 5 days off, I'm like, all right, I'll pick up a couple shifts, and hospital jobs pay pretty good. So and honestly, I love it because not to shit on anyone who puts their kid in daycare, but I'm like OCD, paranoid, like there's fucked up people out there, and I'd rather be the one raising my kids. Not even like heinous shit, but just like I want to be the one to import life lessons onto my children, not some person that I looked up on website or whatever.
It's very true.
If it's a family friend that you really trust and you feel you have values that align, then I guess that's like if it's your mom or somebody,
Oh, I just want them to not kill my kid for the day. That's all I care about, honestly, at this point. I was like, just don't let him die, and I'll pick him up at 4:30. This is good.
Isn't it weird how much that's changed, though? Like, when we were kids, you just, like, find some 16-year-old in newspaper or something and, like, they'll watch while your parents go to the movies, and
they seem legit.
Yeah, exactly. I think my child could overpower her.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know. I mean, the world's changed a lot like that. And I can say myself in the same way, I'm way more cautious about... Maybe that's just because I'm a parent myself now, but I feel like people were less sketchy 30 years ago. That's probably not true. I don't know.
I mean, I grew up in a small town where we didn't have murders. Like, we never had crime. Like, there was crime.
Like you could trust your neighbor a little more.
Yeah, so I used to go after school. I would just, instead of going home, because my mom was a teacher, so she would get home a little bit later than us. So we would just go over to my neighbor's place and we'd just play outside, and they were just like not even watching us really.
Yeah,
they were just there was an adult around.
As long as they can hear you.
Yeah, if we needed some. But I remember like just playing with sticks and playing in trees and climbing trees, falling down. Actually, my brother almost broke his neck once, like just from falling down a tree, like directly on his neck. And we were filming it too. We were like doing the jackass thing, and we watched that thing on slow motion so many times on the VCR that the tape sort of started to like wobble.
What's his name?
My brother?
Yeah.
Matt.
So you're like, oh, Matt, this is the time he almost died.
Yeah.
Your near-death experience.
And we were like, stop it frame by frame, and you could see his neck like almost snapping. He's like, oh, look at that right there. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, of course. Once it's over, he probably wears it as like a badge of pride. Wants to show all his buddies and stuff.
Yeah, my brother was kind of crazy. He wanted to be a stuntman for all of his life, like until like that was his career path. And then only in like grade 11 or 12 that he was like, oh, I'm going to become a chemist. And now he has like a postdoc in chemistry.
Good choice, man. Good choice. I think that panned out better for you.
But it's always because I think we were making like bombs from like the anarchist cookbook and shit like that, whatever. And we're like trying to like film, like we're filming, because I always did like little short films and stuff like that. We were like make explosions and film them, like jump over them, do whatever, all that. And I think learning how to make bombs probably made him want to become a chemist eventually.
Fair, yeah.
So there's a connection there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's, again, probably more longevity than a stuntman career, if you can even get a paying job doing that.
Yeah, nowadays it'd be hard. Like, you'd have to be really crazy good to be...
Well, there's so much competition, yeah. And, I mean, Jackass is a whole other thing, I suppose, because that could have gone nowhere, but it blew up so huge. And I think, honestly, at least a few of them are somewhat masochistic, because...
Oh, for sure.
Like,
absolutely.
Johnny Knoxville and Steve-O in particular... The fact that they find so much humor in their own pain, there's got to be some sort of therapy or something.
Yeah, there's definitely something going on there.
You know, Johnny Knoxville, I can't remember what the injury was exactly, but it was like he took a dirt bike and went like to the top of the hill, and it flew up above him and came down and hit him in the junk, and he had to piss through a catheter for like a year. But he's telling this story on Jimmy Kimmel or whatever, laughing about it like it's the funniest thing ever. I'm like, dude, I feel like you cry about this at night. Like, this is your dick we're talking about. Anyway.
Good times. I remember seeing Steve-O live. They're doing like a live show, whatever. And you know when they're like stapling his nutsack in the movie, whatever, to the side of the leg, they actually got a volunteer to do it from the audience, and the guy had to do it. Like, he did it.
I guess if you
get on stage and Steve-O is like peer pressuring you to staple
I was
your nuts,
alcohol's involved. I feel like there's a lawsuit waiting to happen there.
You can't, like, I don't know. I was just glad I didn't go up, because I probably been like, oh yeah, let's do it, and then fucking get staples in your...
Dude, Steve-O seems like he's doing so much better now. Like, I know he still does crazy stunts, but cleaning up, I think, made a huge difference.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because I used to watch Jackass, and then I remember when they stopped the show and they were just doing the movies, there was a lot of downtime in between, and Steve-O started putting out his own DVDs. And that's where I didn't like those as much, because it was just pure, like, there was one where he was in Times Square just, like, taking a piece of glass and cutting his tongue. And I was like, where's the fucking joke in this?
That was like
I don't know.
BME Pain Olympics kind of
shit. Yeah, I'm not a fan,
of...
I like there to at least be like a punchline, you know? Even if it's like really violent or whatever, if it's like Roadrunner Coyote style, that still has like the essence of joke writing in it somewhere.
Yeah, and I like the when it was more like pranks of, you know, unsuspecting bystanders, and you get the reactions like this guy is like taking a shit in a home hardware toilet. I was like, that's funny. It's like it's really shitty to do for everybody that's works
whoever
there.
Has to clean it up.
Yeah, whatever. But like just the fact that somebody would like take a shit in an unplugged toilet, and people were like, you know, that's not a real toilet, like as if he doesn't know you.
Well, and not only that, but they show the clips of him like not making it to the store a couple times first, where they try and the laxatives just hit too early or whatever.
Yeah, when they're running and shitting at the same time.
Yeah, the great one, or one of the great ones, is where they have Wee Man and Preston Lacey do like the bungee thing, where like that was cool because of how gravity worked with the little person and big person. I don't know what the proper term for fat people is these days.
Yeah, I know.
Not to be insensitive, but Preston Lacey's like not going to live a long life if he keeps to 450 pounds or whatever he is.
Well, that's the point. Like, they were actually clever, because the time when Preston Lacey goes into the porta potty and then Wee Man comes out dressed the same, and then he's like,
I love that stuff.
Yeah, you could tell that they were actually intelligent people. They understood a punchline, they understood the misdirection, all those things.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of like doing something that is socially unacceptable or so deviates from the norm.
It's like shocking.
Yeah. It's like you have to be pretty creative.
They jacked some ideas from Tom Green straight up, though.
For
like,
sure. Yeah.
Bam waking up his parents, that was totally Tom Green. He did that a million times.
Yeah.
He didn't punch them, I don't think, but he did put like a dead horse head in their bed once. Excuse me.
Slutmobile on his car.
No, I'm trying to think of ones that Jackass took, though. Oh, Jackass.
No, that was Tom Green, though, right?
Yeah, that was him. Yeah. But Jackass also stole where Tom Green would like go out on crutches and then like, fall over or whatever. They did the exact same thing, except it was like 2 of them or something. Yeah. And I remember listening to Tom Green had a rap album come out in 2008, I believe. It was called Prepare for Impact. It was pretty good. It's silly, but he had a couple rhymes about that. Like
diss tracks about
used to wake up my parents, then bam, stole it. Dipping in my bag of tricks now because they're golden or something like that,
Oh.
So I don't know, but I think they're all cool now. They've sorted out that beef a long time ago,
Well, I mean, that's the point. Like, there's something about, we all had cameras growing up. We had, like, my parents had camcorders. As soon as we got the camcorder, we were doing dumb shit, and, like, the whole tree thing, whatever. And then that was before we ever seen Jackass. This was like way years before.
But there was America's Funniest Home Videos and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's true. I mean? Yeah, but then we saw like Jackass. They were doing the same thing. It was like, oh my god, they jacked their shit. But at the end of the day, it's because there's like these, Tesla and Edison or whatever. Like the electricity, the ideas are in the air. Like all the kids had camcorders. Obviously, we're all gonna do the same thing.
Yeah.
And they just ended up doing it better and going crazier than any of us.
Picked up by MTV.
Picked up by MTV. So.
Well, yeah, because once they get the funding, then they can just do even crazier shit, and like whatever they can imagine, they can basically make reality. So, yeah, they've done some great stuff, but I severely hope they make another movie. Honestly, I know like Ryan Dunn's passed away, and there's they're probably
Bam was sober for a while. He was back skateboarding. It was actually
and then he turned
good.
into Phil.
Yeah.
He straight up turned into Phil. Not to be mean, I know like addiction issues are tough, but yeah, man, I hope he can sort it out,
Yeah, no, it's tough.
Well, because he was like in really great shape for most of his life, and then now he
absolutely.
I don't know, man. It's sad, but he's got a kid and stuff, so maybe it was just genetics partially. Some people just your metabolism hits a wall, and But I mean, you think someone who skated as much as him, it's got to be the drugs.
It's got to be because he was phenomenal skateboarder. So you grew up, you have your board right there. Did you grow up skateboarding mostly, or?
I mean, not really. It depends what you call skateboarding. Like I can't even ollie.
Okay.
But I always
around.
Cruising. When I was in high school, I specifically would seek out like those old school decks from the 80s with the plastic bumpers and shit.
Yeah.
That was all I rode.
Nice.
I'd fix them up and stuff. But no, I could never figure out tricks.
Now they're cool. They're back in now.
I wish I had them. Probably worth something now. They
Yeah.
were all from 87 or something, I think. But no, I just I could never figure out tricks. Maybe I was too much of a pussy to really risk injuring myself in the way that's kind of necessary, I think, to become a good skater.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was mainly just a mode of transportation. I'm pretty notoriously late. I'm very surprised I beat you here today.
Yeah.
Probably because it's 3 seconds from my house. But so yeah, it was more of a just something that I needed to catch the bus or whatever.
Yeah.
And as I told you, I've gotten injured on this one.
Going downhill or?
No, I could tell the story if you want. It might take me a minute, but
sure.
This was I want to say, God, probably 4 or 5 years ago now. Yeah, because my son's 3.5 and he wasn't born yet. And my fiance is a nurse just down the street, and we thought, hey, let's go out for a couple drinks at the bar that's right near our house. There's one up the street here. And then, we'll get back a reasonable time and you'll get enough sleep and then you go to work. I don't know why we thought that would work. I think we were celebrating something or whatever. So we went by and they had a great open mic there. They would let me do comedy or sometimes play music or whatever. So 1 minute we're having a blast, and then the next minute she becomes aware of what time it was. I think it was midnight or something. And, I was still caught up in the moment or whatever, and she got really pissed and she ended up walking home, which again is 2 seconds away. It wasn't like she took a cab and left or something. But I went home and we ended up getting this big argument, and and arguing is healthy, but don't do it when you're drunk because it never goes well. But it got to some blow up point where it was oh, we've been arguing for 2 hours now. Now I'm definitely going to have to call in sick for work. And arguably, I guess it was my fault. But I kind of stormed out and I took my longboard and I'm just going to go for a cruise. And to be fair, even with all those drinks, I did fine. I can ride a longboard unless I'm sloshed, no problem. The problem came because I wanted to take a break. I think I had a joint or something. And I found this dark area almost when you hit the highway down there, and I walk up and there's this house there, this big house. I didn't really know what it was, and then this guy, it turned out to be a group home. I should say that.
Okay.
But I didn't know, and there was this guy out having a smoke on the porch, and I was really upset because not only was I drunk, but I was having a big fight with the person I love, and it didn't end well. So I was really upset, close to tears, and I really just wanted human interaction. I don't know why I expected this guy to be my therapist at 1 a.m. or whatever it was.
He's yeah, sure.
So understandably, he was like, get the fuck out of here. You need to get the fuck out of here. This is private property. You're a drunk fool right now. And he made me feel so ashamed that I just rushed out of there, didn't look, and I put down my board. It was really, really dark. I start riding, not knowing that after like 10 feet, it turns to hard gravel.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah, just stops dead in my tracks. I flew off and just like, I separated my shoulder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
really?
it was
that
brutal.
Bad?
And everything just kind of came up into me. So, yeah, it was. And when you're drunk, you don't know how hurt you are, but I knew it was bad enough that I was going to have to go to the hospital. So I leave. I start limping back on baseline, and I find like another person kind of walks by me, and I'm still just like even more so now craving this human sympathy or whatever, just like some sort of like positive energy. And this guy, same thing. He just like kind of walks by me and ignores me. And I literally just broke down. I sat down in like the tall grass that was on the side of the road and just started bawling my eyes out because I was just, at a fucking limit and drunk as hell. And then this guy comes back because whatever fear he had of me being like some sketchy guy at 1 a.m.
He's like, he's not threatening.
Yeah, exactly. This guy is not a
grown
threat.
man crying right now is not threatening at all.
And honestly, dude, it restored my faith in humanity at that moment because it really made a difference. He helped me back up. He walked me along. He sort of said, look, dude, I think you should go to the hospital. Like, it looks pretty rough. And, that was it. I ended up, they told me basically to just let it heal, which I didn't think was a thing, but it's still kind of fucked up. So that's that story. But just don't go longboarding when you're drunk and stay off of private property. And
you know what? I've been there, and I've probably been that guy too, looking for that connection. And sometimes you see this seemingly crazy person downtown that's just like, whatever, and you could tell maybe there's a backstory that they're just, at that moment they just had a fight and whatever, they're looking for connection, whatever, it's late, they're drunk, and it's like, we're all human, like, they're probably just okay.
Well, I don't fault anyone for not wanting to talk to me in that situation because it's, self-preservation. If sketchy late night some drunk dude is acting all bananas around you, like, I'd probably do the same thing, but I don't know. It's I almost think, though, with social media and stuff, we're almost being driven to not be there for people that we don't know. And unless you know someone really well, stranger danger or whatever,
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
But I've had some pretty good conversations sometimes with just these strangers just in the middle of the night, whatever, just like whatever, being drunk. And I used to, when I lived downtown, it was more prominent. That
makes sense.
Just, end up bumming a cigarette or something. I'm drunk. It's like, do you have a cigarette? Do you have a cigarette with someone? You just have a chat, and then you go your own way. And it's like, that was kind of nice. Just having a chat with a random stranger about whatever life, and they start rambling about conspiracy theories, and you're like, okay, well, gotta go home. But no, I used to skateboard drunk a lot, probably too much, and did get injured a few times, but nothing too bad. Never separated my shoulder. I separated my shoulder snowboarding once. That it was not good, and I drove myself to the hospital. I was like, I fucking one hand.
Damn, that's hardcore.
Yeah,
you got to do what you got to do, I guess, in that situation. Yeah.
It was like the last day. It was like April something, so it was like gonna be the last day of the year that I was able to snowboard. It was like super slushy, and it was I was like, okay, this is the last run. I'm gonna go and give her. I was trying to do this rail. And I just did this rail, and I landed right on it, like just snapped it.
Oh, damn.
And then it was like, okay, well, try myself to fucking ER. And they said the same thing. Is like it was turning yellow and blue and purple, everything. Took an X-ray, and it was like basically like the whole thing had like pulled. But they said, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, even now, if I like stand without a shirt on, I could see like a weird section.
Me too. Yeah, my left shoulder's a bit lower.
Doesn't that suck? We're so accustomed to like going to the doctor and being like, fix me.
Yeah,
But same thing, like I won't tell this story because I've told it on my podcast before, but some crazy homeless guy broke my finger downtown. He stole my hat. I tried to get it back. He was on meth or something, and he just kind of grabbed my hand.
So stranger danger is a real thing.
It's like all fucking crooked. Wow. But yeah, Jesus, I don't even know where I was going to go with this now. Sorry, that fingers, they can't do shit for that. Like, I was sure looking at it, I'm like, this thing is straight up sideways, and the guy's like, no, we're not going to do surgery on that. Like, say hi to your new finger, That's, fuck. But one funny thing I just thought of is when I had separated my shoulder, after I spent all night at the emergency room, I was like, I can't remember. I wanted something from the grocery store, like something I was craving, and then I'm going to rest for the rest of the day. So I'm like, I'm just going to take this short trip down the street to Loblaws. And of course, I get pulled over by a cop like 2 seconds from my house. She says I went through a red, which to this day, bullshit. It was a yellow. If you're in the intersection when it's yellow.
Yeah, if you're halfway through, you're good.
But I did learn, she even said, little piece of advice, don't ever tell a cop how to do their job. And I was like, touche. But good man, advice. It was one of the most condescending experiences I've ever had in my life because she's a female cop, and she pulled me over, and the whole normal intimidation kind of tactic that I find you get with a lot of cops. They're kind of power tripping people, in my opinion, or the bad ones.
Yeah.
And she, goes and runs my plates and looks up my record, of which I have none. And she comes back and says, "You can officially tell your mom that you're a good boy." I was like, what the fuck?
What does that mean?
I didn't say anything. Well, because she's like, "Oh, when I looked up your record, it's exactly what we hope when we pull someone over, that there's just like nothing outstanding or anything sketchy or whatever." But I was like, who the fuck says that to somebody? It was so condescending. Like, what if my mom was... I should have just been like, my mom is dead?
Yeah.
Just to fuck with her?
Just to fuck with her, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. That was a weird moment.
So... Actually, it reminds me of something that happened to me just yesterday. I was at Costco, and this sample, now, I don't know if you've been to Costco since the pandemic, but you can't even try samples anymore. They're like behind glass,
Yeah.
There's like, but they still like present them behind glass.
That's weird.
It's
just like a tease now?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I had a joke about it's like a fucking Mona Lisa in the Louvre. Like, people are lining up just to take a picture of it. It's like, what
That's
the fuck?
so weird.
But this lady, she was like trying to sell me some whatever, and then she looks at my groceries and she's like, "Oh wow, you're really eating healthy, like it's no junk, good for you." And to me that was like a really positive thing. I was like, oh yeah, it made me feel good and all that, but I could see how that interaction would not be welcomed by everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, some people, like,
kind of like mind your own business.
Yeah, it's kind of like mind your own business. What the fuck are you, whatever.
It's positive, though. It was probably why she felt like it was okay.
But some people would like be taken aback, like, "Oh my god, like, don't talk to me." But I think I was actually looking for connection, and sometimes you're just like, same thing with the cop, who probably was like, "Oh, you're a good boy." She was just trying to make a rapport or have a connection, and sometimes not everyone will react the same way to especially if it's a stranger, right? Like we were talking earlier, like,
yeah,
if it's a stranger, it's coming up to you and be like, "Oh, I just want to talk about life," and you're like, "Oh, what the fuck?" But
you get like this, alarm go off in your head a little bit, red flag.
But sometimes I welcome it in my life, and I'm like, yeah, I'm totally down to just have a conversation with you. And this lady, I don't know what it is about Costco, but people always talk to me at Costco for some reason.
You mean people who work there?
Just random
or just
people.
Random?
So this most random things like happen while I'm like picking out corn at Costco, and this other shopper is just like, "Hey, corn at Parkdale Market, it's like, 8 for whatever $10." I'm like, first of all, I actually live close to Parkdale Market. I'm in fucking Nepean. How do you know that?
Yeah, too much, too close.
That's really good advice. I'm actually going to put it back and go to Parkdale Market later. But it's like, yeah, why would you assume that I was looking for advice about my grocery shopping? And I was. That's the worst part.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got some psychic abilities.
I don't know. I'm just maybe too approachable sometimes.
It's weird, though, because, like, I was trying to tell myself yesterday, you should try to make contact, like, and be really friendly with somebody, even if it's just the cashier at the grocery store or whatever.
Yeah.
Because if you're really positive and they're maybe having a shitty day, or maybe they're just, like, depressed, it might make a difference is all. But I did that specifically yesterday. She looked kind of like, not sad, but she looked really bored and really just kind of like, let me get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And I just said, "Oh, how's your day going?" And she like reacted like she couldn't believe I was making small talk with her. And I think that's kind of, again, how society's starting to get, is like people are more comfortable getting like a text message than someone saying hi in person, or calling them on the phone.
Yeah,
or
that's
whatever.
weird.
It's so weird.
I think everybody's so in their heads too.
Yeah.
Which I get the same. If I'm like on my phone, whatever, and then somebody wants to make a comment, whatever, I'm like, it'll take me like a 5 seconds delay. Be like, what? Sorry, what'd you say? Instead of like being in the moment, like we're not really in the moment anymore.
No, not at all.
So if there's something that comes up where you have to be like spontaneous and just be like, "Hey, what's going on?" Whatever, like it's gonna take a little bit of delay.
Yeah.
And I think that just screws us up. Like all those minor interactions that you could have.
Well, and the amount of time you can waste just like arguing with people you're never even going to meet on Facebook and shit. Like, I used to get sucked into that stuff, and I try as hard as possible not to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, I posted a thing the other day about someone on my YouTube put some comment, and they were referring to the plexiglass that I have in my studio.
Right, yeah.
And they were like, it was just the simplest, stupidest comment ever. They're like, "That glass is dumb and unnecessary," or something like that, where I'm just like, at least flesh out your argument. At least explain to me why. Even if you're like some pandemic idiot or whatever, at least like, I don't know. So like, I didn't want to take the bait, but I just had to. More sort of as like a message of, in case anyone else reads my response, they'll know where I stand on this issue.
See, that's good. Yeah, I was going to say, did you feel good about engaging with that? Because, I mean, engaging with trolls, you're just fueling the fire sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Like yes and no. I felt good. I felt like I wrote a good thing because I started.
Because you had a good point and you had a good argument. I remember like it was about like if the audience, if the guest feels safe and like whatever I work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, first of all, like I do think we should be following whatever protocol is recommended by medical professionals, and partially that's because, again, my fiance is an ICU nurse, so a lot of people who have no direct contact with corona, they think like it's so easy to just pretend it's not real or it's a conspiracy or whatever. Maybe there's some conspiracy level behind it, I don't know, but it's definitely a real thing because my fiance's coming home and people are dying and they're only 29 or like weird shit like that, so I don't know, man. It's a scary time to be alive in a way, but I don't know. Sorry, I'm getting losing my train of thought like crazy because I told you I'm already hungover here. I don't know where I was going with that. My bad.
Oh, it's all good. I had a conversation with Kia from the last podcast.
Nice.
Kia Mazar. Haven't posted yet, but we get into coronavirus conspiracy theories a bit.
That's it. Yeah, I was talking about the plexiglass. Sorry to cut you off. That's what I was trying to say. Is I told the guy, like, look, even if I didn't believe, like, even if I was a full-on pandemic person, it would still be professional to put this up for people who feel otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. Make your guests feel comfortable and.
But I got flack from some other girl on Facebook. I mean, not flack, but she said like, "Hey, maybe you went a little harsh at the end," because I said at the very end, after all the serious points I was trying to make, I just wrote stuff that I thought was funny, which was like, "I hope someone coughs into your mouth, and please don't procreate." But like, I thought those statements were both so over the top that no one would think I was being serious, but I don't know.
At the end of the day, like, we're still comics, you know what I mean? Like, we're still supposed to be comics. It's like, well, I mean, I don't know if you saw Dave Chappelle's monologue on SNL.
I saw like the first half of it, I want to say.
It's long. It's like 15 minutes.
Yeah,
it's unusually
He gets away
long.
with everything too, dude. He gets to smoke butts on stage and
because it's part of his artistic.
Drop the N-word whenever he wants. Like,
I mean, I'm a big fan. I love Dave Chappelle, and but some people had problems with a few of his jokes. Like one of them was about Freddie Mercury and AIDS and whatever. And then it's like, okay, just because a comic doesn't have like perfect all of his like 15 minutes that you took out two jokes that were sort of problematic, and you just diminish the whole person. And you missed out on all his amazing points because he has some great points.
Yeah. He always has amazing social commentary.
Amazing points. And it's like, okay, if somebody with your two sentences at the end, like, just disregards whatever the good arguments that you had before, it's like, okay, well, fuck, these are just jokes. Like, actually, just look at what I just wrote. That made a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
And then, just to disregard the whole person or whole statement because of like
that's how people are
one
now,
little part, like one typo, and you're like, oh no, your whole thing is moot.
Yeah, well, now everything's black and white or red and blue. There's no fucking gray zone, which is generally what like 90% of life is about, is the middle zone. But I don't know, everything's so polarized now, and I don't think that's new. I think it's been happening for a few years, and I don't think it's going anywhere, unfortunately.
No.
Who knows? But then again, who knows? Maybe it's been like this in the past too. Maybe if we went back 100 years ago, things were just as divisive. I don't know.
I'm sure they were based on other.
It probably comes in waves. I don't know. Because the 60s, everyone was hippie getting along for a while. I don't know. That's not true. A lot of people hated the hippies.
Well, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people hated each other back then too, and it was like divisive based on like religion or like
But I will say, if you compare like Woodstock in '69 to when they tried to do it in the '90s, I mean, there was fires and rape and all this horrible shit happening in the 90s from Limp Bizkit and all these like aggressive bands. But the old Woodstock, there was probably some shit still going on. Yeah,
there were a lot of shit back then too.
Damn it, I don't know. I like to believe that like Woodstock was like this utopia of everybody like just being super nice to each other, but
yeah, probably not.
Yeah, it's probably just like less stuff getting documented.
Reported.
Yeah,
it was like
Well, just crush the dream.
I mean, I think overall. The weird part is like the social media makes us believe that we're not, like, things are shitty right now. But if you think on the grand scale of things, like, things have never been better for humanity.
In some ways, for sure.
For a lot of things, actually. A lot of metrics. If you look at graphs.
That also depends on where you live, though, unfortunately.
Where you live, your race, your gender, and all.
Socioeconomic
a lot of things.
Status.
Yeah, for sure. As a straight white male, has never been like, no, actually, well.
Well, there's like the movement to like shun all white men too, but like I hear like friends, or not even friends, but white guys I know get really like upset about that, and they're all like against feminism and like I just don't get it, man. It's like, oh shit, that's my phone. My bad.
It's all good.
No,
I can edit through that.
Oh, it's a hospital. The fuck. Leave a
Take it?
voicemail. No, it's okay.
Sure.
I'm already working tonight, so they're asking me to take some other shift probably. Anyways, God damn it. Choo-choo, the train has left the station. No, what were we saying? Sorry?
White guys get...
Oh, yeah. Like, I mean, I just don't get it. Not only have we obviously already had our day in the sun for, like, hundreds of years.
The whole time.
It's not like, I don't know, unless it's some stupid idiot. Like, most people aren't instantly condemning you. They're just trying to let you recognize that, like, hey, you may have had some opportunities in your life that other people who aren't white or aren't male wouldn't have gotten. And I think that's like fucking undeniable. Unless you're living in denial, it's just true.
Yeah.
The amount of like black guys who probably go in a store and get eyeballed like they're gonna jack something compared to white guys. I mean, like that's just something that's, I think, undeniable. So that's just one example. But
I was talking to Kia about shoplifting. I was a teenager. Like, I probably got away with it because I was white. You know, like, because they weren't.
Yeah,
like,
they're like, this guy looks like he could be in the Sears catalog. He would never steal anything.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
No, it was fucking.
Did you shoplift a lot?
I was a klepto for a bit for like a teenage years, and I wasn't even the thing.
I feel like a lot of teenagers go through that phase though.
Yeah.
Until you get caught in a big way, and then you're like, okay.
Well, so I never got caught really, and it was like the whole adrenaline junkie thing. It was like, I was a skateboarder and all that. And I loved the adrenaline of like the fear of getting caught, and I was just addicted to that. I feel like it wasn't so much about the products themselves.
No, and then when you get away with it, you feel like a bandit or something.
Yeah. And then I rationalized myself that I was like, oh, they have insurance to cover for that. But
Yeah.
then I used to work at Canadian Tire, and I actually used to steal from them while working.
Yeah, I've done shit like that in jobs when I was a teenager too.
Yeah, I was fucking 16, whatever.
Yeah.
And we actually steal. We would make our own pipes and bongs and shit with. I was working in the hardware section, so
nice.
with all the pipes from like the bathrooms,
Cool.
things like that. And then they had these little like mini torches.
Like a butane or whatever.
Yeah, little butane torches. So you can like stuff that in your pocket before you left or whatever.
That's cool.
And yeah, we smoked weed in the warehouse too. One of my colleagues got caught. And the worst part is that before they fired him, they made him clean the entire... Like, they didn't tell him that he got caught for things. So they made him, like, a whole shift, like 8 hours, just made him clean everything.
Brutal.
And then at the end, they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, we caught you. You're fired.
Dude.
But I never got
I've
caught.
had a boss do that to me, too. I wasn't stealing from that place, from what I remember, but I worked at Shoppers at the time. And same thing, though. He made me work the whole day, knowing full well he was going to fire me. And that just, like... It was extra salt in the wound.
Probably, though.
I guess, but like, I don't know. I could have done something else with my day. I guess I got paid.
I know. Yeah.
That guy was sketch, though. He didn't want me to do my 2 weeks, so he just paid me cash as a severance to just leave right away. I'm like, I don't really feel like this is legal, but all right. I need the money, and I kind of hate you, so I'm out of here.
Cash. I'll take cash.
Dude, some jobs suck, man. It's funny that you say that from stealing from where you work, though, because I used to work at Rogers Video when I was like 18, I want to say. I'm hoping there's some statute of limitations on this shit.
I'm hoping so. Mine too, yeah.
Well, but to be fair, like, I mean, it would be impossible to go back and trace. Like, I don't even remember what I took, but I remember that, like, everybody working there started stealing. Like,
mine was...
almost everybody. To the point where I think they said we were, like, one of the highest out of all the Rogers in the country for theft.
So what, you were selling, like, movies and shit?
Yeah, like DVDs and shit like that.
Nice.
And this one dude ended up taking the fall for everybody because when you work there, you were allowed to have... like 2 rentals out at any time, like movies or video games, whatever you want. Yeah. As long as you bring them back, then you can take out another 2. You never have to pay because you're an employee. It's a pretty sweet gig. Like when movies were not downloadable and shit, you know. And this guy he had rented a couple games, but he had also stolen games, and he accidentally returned one of the games that he stole. And they're like, dude, we wrote this off. Why do you have this? And then they basically they said you can resign, but because of that, I don't know how they thought he stole everything, but because of that, they kind of stopped looking into it after, and everybody understandably kind of stopped because we were like, all right, this is our get out of jail free card, like just chill. And then movie stores
resets the record, like everybody's
movie
clean.
Stores just kind of like imploded not long afterwards. So it was, when did they all go out? Like, I want to say, I know there's like one Blockbuster in Ohio or some shit like that, but
it still exists.
Yeah, but I think it's a novelty at this point more that they're the only one or whatever. I remember going to Jumbo Video on Maryville up until like early. What do you call the zeros? The aughts. The aughts.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, like probably like up until 2008 or 10 even, I was doing overnight security and I would still rent DVDs from them. But they were the only one in the city at that point.
Yeah, I feel like there were, late aughts, there were still some niche ones where you can actually
West Coast Video in Orleans lasted a while, I think, too.
There was one downtown that had like very niche, like, it was like, very indie films and like...
I know, Invisible Cinema.
Yeah,
right?
upstairs.
Yeah. It was off of Lisgar or something, I think.
Yeah, they had some pretty cool stuff that was hard to find.
Yeah, they had like bootlegs and shit, like weird.
Yeah.
I remember there's, I don't know how much of a comic geek you are.
Not comic so much, but movie big time.
Well, you know the basic shit, I'm sure. Like, you know who the Fantastic Four are?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a movie, right? But there was this other movie they made in like 92 or 93 of the Fantastic Four, and it never made it to theater. And the messed up part about it, actually, which I learned later, was that it was never intended to make it to theater. All the people working on it, all the actors thought it was going to be a real movie.
It was going to be straight released to...
It was an Ashcan copy, I believe it's called, it was just to retain the rights to the characters. They're like, if you make a movie, then technically it's still, I don't know, something along those lines.
Wow.
So, but no one had it, and I had never seen it as a kid. It was like this thing I heard about, and then that place had it. So
wow.
Yeah, now you can watch it on YouTube. It's not even that bad. It's kind of weird. But
that is such like I don't know if you ever watched Barton Fink, the Coen brothers.
I know the name, but no, I haven't seen it.
Anyways, it's about a writer from Hollywood that's forced to write a script and everything, and it's just basically just so that they can own him or own the script. Like they had no plans on making it as a movie or anything like that. And that movie eventually became the conspiracy is that movie that he's writing in the film became The Wrestler by Darren Aronofsky.
Oh, with Mickey Rourke. I've never seen that either.
That's great.
I heard it's amazing. Yeah.
I love Darren Aronofsky. One of my favorites.
You know how many fucking great films there are, though? Like,
you know
every day someone tells me about a show I need to watch or whatever. Like, I don't have time.
Well, you know what I did? And I started doing this, I think in like maybe 2012 or 2010. I started watching the IMDb top 250 films of all time.
Oh, damn.
So the whole list from like chronologically, it starts from like the Shawshank Redemption, all the Godfather. Well, not Godfather 1 and 2,
so
not 3.
That's not even that far back then. I thought you were going to say like Citizen Kane or something.
No, Citizen Kane, but like not in chronological order, but in the order of the actual the standings,
the
like
rankings.
Number 1 to whatever. Because what happens is because it's a dynamic list, some new films get added in, and some of their
it's constantly evolving. Cool. It's like Billboard Top 100 or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm stuck at like 85% now. I've watched about like 225 of the 250.
I didn't even put my fucking phone on silent last time. I'm sorry. I just friggin' muted them. That's weird. Now I'm getting paranoid that I messed up my schedule and I'm supposed to be at work right now or something. That's happened so many times. No, it's all good. It's all good.
But yeah, so I've watched 225 of the 250. And it's really forced me to watch like films that I never watched before, like just stuff like Singing in the Rain. I had never watched that movie before.
Or like Sound of Music or something.
Sound of Music or whatever. And they were actually amazing films. Like every single film that I've watched in there has something that makes it
you can
amazing.
Take from it. Yeah.
And sometimes it's like if you watch like old Alfred Hitchcock movies, like you understand, okay, maybe now it kind of looks a bit cheesy, whatever.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was groundbreaking, and you can see what movies were inspired by that,
Yeah.
And what
they set the stage for a lot of other films.
Yeah. So it's sort of all the references in The Simpsons that you probably wouldn't have gotten as a kid because you hadn't watched Citizen Kane. Yeah. Whatever. Now you're like, oh, that's what that meant.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Well, that happens anyways. I find I watch Simpsons a lot with my kids now because they have all on Disney Plus. They have like 30 seasons or whatever. And so many episodes I've seen like 10 times when I was a kid. I'm getting new jokes now just as an adult who is a father and just like more pop culture knowledge up in here, it's awesome, honestly, because it's like rewatching episodes and now they've got like extra content, but really they don't. It's just,
No, it's just you get it now.
My perception's changed, yeah.
It's crazy how much The Simpsons would just take a literal scene from a film and they just animated and that they didn't change anything. That was just it. That was just
well, sometimes they change stuff.
Sometimes they changed a little bit, but just so barely that is like, okay, well, I didn't realize that they were just doing that the whole time. I thought everything was completely original when I was a kid.
Like the Halloween one where they do The Shining.
Yeah.
The Shinning.
You want to get sued?
Oh man, yeah, Simpsons is gold. But you're talking about good films. I actually have in my podcast studio a poster that I don't know if you've seen this.
Yeah, well, when I was there,
you're supposed to scratch it off like a lotto ticket. Like,
yeah. Oh, is that what it's supposed to?
And then you can rank like how many stars you want to rate it and all this stuff.
Okay,
so I wanted to do a show with my buddy Jesse, just watching everything off that list and just, talking about the films afterwards. But I thought it'd be cool because you could get people to order the same poster and kind of follow along every week and chime in the chat room or whatever. But I don't know. I'm too busy. I never started it.
It's funny because I was filming you and Scott having the podcast, or the documentary interview, and I was actually looking at the list. I actually looked the whole thing. I think I watched almost all of them.
Damn. Yeah. I've barely seen any of them.
Really?
But, oh, dude, there's so many
except the TV shows.
Yeah, that's harder because it's a lot more commitment to watch 6 seasons of Band of Brothers or something.
I did watch, but Band of Brothers was only a miniseries. There was only one.
Oh, that's
on
true.
HBO.
Yeah.
That was actually.
That was a bad example then. Yeah. Like Sopranos then, or whatever.
I've never watched Sopranos.
Neither have I. Dude, I could list movies I've never seen Lord of the Rings.
Oh wow.
And I'm a nerd. I've never seen Lord of the Rings.
I mean, they're fine.
Fantasy's never been I don't hate it, but I was always more like superheroes, sci-fi. I don't know why, because they try to, as stupid as this sounds, they try to base it in logical, explainable reality. They'll be like, oh, he got toxic waste on him, or even though that would just probably give you cancer. They try, as opposed to fantasy, where it's always just off
that's
in a
the way it is,
magical forest, and you just have to completely transport yourself there. And maybe that's what some people find appealing about it. But
true.
Like Hobbits, I always just thought they seemed really lame. And this is from someone who hasn't seen the movie, so please don't hate me. But I don't know. They just never looked like really cool protagonists.
I've never read Lord of the Rings. I've read The Hobbit, and to me, it was the idea of same thing with Harry Potter. I've never read Harry Potter, but I've actually not sure. I read the first one, but an author that can create this entire world with all these new rules for how society and how physics and how all the everything.
It's commendable
works.
for sure.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
But same, that's a perfect example though. Harry Potter, same deal. I couldn't get into it. I watched a couple with my kids. I was like, it's not bad, but it's just. There's something about Alligus Schmalligus. I don't care.
I know.
Sorry.
I think we're a little too old.
We're not the target audience or whatever.
No.
But, and not to shit again. Anyone who is into a fandom, go do your thing. That's awesome. I'll make jokes like this, but I got nothing but respect for you. If you're into Twilight, I don't care, man. You're finding something positive that unites you with other people.
That makes you happy.
Yeah, you're not out causing problems in the world. You're watching some vampires sparkle. That's okay, or whatever. But, yeah, please. What do you want? Do you want another?
The same thing,
I'll switch it up. Can I just get the red? Thank you so much.
Sure. I didn't even check what they had to.
Yeah, I know some of their beers pretty well here.
No. I can edit this out.
Yeah, take your time, man.
Whoa, Black IPA released the Hounds.
I hate editing stuff out for the most part.
What?
I hate editing stuff out of podcasts for the most part. I try so hard not to do it.
I know, me too.
Every once in a while I will, just because. Usually it's because I think I sounded really dumb or something. I try not to be self-conscious, but sometimes you bring up a fact and then you read it, you go on Google after the show and you're like, oh, that was completely wrong.
Actually, I'll try the Bigfoot.
Oh, Big Boot. Yeah, that's good.
Hefeweizen.
Hefe. Yeah, they taste like bananas and cloves, kind of, I find.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Comics, so are you a real big comic head? You're a hardcore?
I mean, I know a lot of shit that would make me definitely seem as such. The weird thing for me is I didn't read a lot of comics growing up. I collected trading cards. I watched the cartoons, and my older brother read all the comics. So it was weird because he kind of passed them down to me. He would just tell me the stories, and then I would mix that with the other content I had, but I rarely ever just picked up a comic book and read it. It was weird, Greek myths or whatever you would tell your family and it would pass it down. So it was more like that. And actually, coincidentally, my brother was also really into mythology, but my dad has to this day 20,000 comics or something too, so I don't know why I wasn't reading them.
Your dad has 20,000 comics?
Yeah, now.
Does he have a warehouse or something? Or?
No, it's all in his office, but it's pretty fucking crowded in there.
That's pretty impressive.
Or maybe it's 10,000, I don't know, but he's got
still a lot,
a shit ton of those long boxes just full and stacked up.
Well, because so when you asked if I was a comic head, the only comic that I started reading and collecting when I was a kid was called Bloodstrike, and it was by Image Comics.
I vaguely know that.
And it was this complete knockoff of Deadpool and X-Men. It was almost like a crossover of X-Men versus Deadpool.
It sounds so familiar, but I can't picture it.
And I only loved it because it was super gory, bloody, and all that. And I remember collecting a bunch of them. And in recent years, I found a bunch of the ones I'd never had, so I bought them and I read them, whatever. But that's the only comic that ever really. And it was this. It was, and I talked to a really comic aficionado of mine, a friend of mine, who's okay, that was a spin-off of people that thought we're good graphic designers. We don't need the writers or whatever. We can just like make some really cool like visuals, and the comics will sell themselves.
That was kind of a 90s thing.
Yeah, right. So I don't know the whole story about it, but apparently it just never took off, and it was just this whole thing.
You know Rob Liefeld?
No.
You don't know this guy?
No.
Well,
I don't know anything about.
So he created Deadpool and Cable. So he's probably rolling in fucking money right now because of the films that they made. Deadpool 2 was like starring both those characters. And I mean, I'm not trying to crap on the guy completely because he did make some pretty cool characters. But he's an artist primarily, or at least equally to his writing. And he's one of the worst artists. Maybe he's come along now, but like some of the iconic covers he did, if you just look up on Google 50 worst covers by Rob Liefeld or something, and this guy does this whole breakdown where he shows just these ridiculous images where you're like, does this guy know human anatomy at all? Drawing Captain America and his torso is like this thick and his pecs are like it's just weird proportions, and notorious for not being able to draw feet. So he would always like hide the character's feet behind rocks and stuff like that. So
they're pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't hate on anyone's art, and I like some of what he's done, but if you've never seen it, you'll Google this tonight and be like, good Lord. And it's not even just that like he was drawing comics. Like, okay, there's a lot of varying art skills in comics and styles too. That's just part of comics.
Yeah.
It was the fact that he was like the top selling artist, making millions of dollars in the 90s off of pretty ridiculously god awful drawings, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion. So anyway, yeah, Rob Liefeld. I'm sure if anyone listening to this that knows comics knows what I'm talking about.
Rob, if you're watching there now, no offense.
Oh, he's fine. He's probably kicking it by the pool.
Yeah.
I don't think he's stressing.
No.
But no, yeah, comics, I didn't read a lot growing up. I think I had some Deathstroke, the Terminator. I don't know if you know that guy, Deathstroke. He's a big DC character, but that's another funny comics thing, too, because Deathstroke was a character that DC had, and he's like an assassin. He's got eye patch under his mask, so when he wears his mask, like half of the face is just black because he doesn't need it, right? So It's kind of a cool look, and he's always got swords and guns and all this shit. But his real name was Slade Wilson. And then Marvel makes Deadpool, and they purposely call him Wade Wilson, and because he's kind of a knockoff, but because Deadpool's this comedic character, it was okay because it was kind of satire. And Marvel and DC had this like loving rivalry, I want to say, back then, and then at some point, right around early 2000s, they just like stopped working together because they used to do crossovers and shit. They used to do like Justice League and the Avengers, or like, thank you so much, or like Spider-Man fighting Superman or whatever. Back in the 70s and 80s, that shit happened, and then I don't think they.
Well, it made sense for them, probably business-wise too. Like,
you'd think they would still do it, honestly, but now, especially with Marvel's movies doing so much better, I'm sure it's just even more salty between them. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably like DC, like, hey, are we going to do that thing? You're like, yeah, no, we don't need you.
The best shit, man, was in like 97, I want to say. They did an actual Marvel versus DC. Mm-hmm. And this was before the internet in any big way. So you would actually like write in, and they told everybody before the comic came out what the matchups were going to be. It's like, okay, it's going to be Superman fighting the Hulk, Robin's going to fight Jubilee, like they had all the Storm and Wonder Woman, whatever, and then fans would like literally write in and vote for who they thought would win, and then they drew and wrote the comic based on those results.
Based on that.
So it's kind of cool, like the fans felt like they got to chime in and make part of the action happen, but that thing ended with the universes temporarily merging into this new world called Amalgam. So like Wolverine and Batman became Dark Claw, and his villain was called the Hyena, which was a mix of Joker and Sabretooth. And like it was really cool. Yeah, Super Soldier was like Superman and Captain America put together.
Was it almost like a parallel universe? Or
yeah, entirely. And the cool thing about it was Marvel and DC for that month or two, they canceled all their other titles, and this was like all that was on the shelves. It was just like, boom, we're doing this weird thing for a month, and then everything went back to normal. But it was pretty cool. Like looking back now, I'm like, fuck, I wish they would still do that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely a geek. I mean, and Star Wars too. Pretty much, if you name it, other than Lord of the Rings, I guess. But no, yeah, I'd give anything a chance. Even Lord of the Rings, I'd watch it if someone was like, "Hey, man, you got it. We're gonna sit down and watch this right now." I'd probably do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a commitment.
Yeah, right. It's the time thing that always put me off. I've never seen Avatar either. Same reason. I don't want to watch a 3.5 hour movie or whatever.
Avatar is like, I think it's
not that good.
Well, I mean, I think it's technologically, I think that was
it was the visuals,
groundbreaking at the time.
All I heard was you got to see it in the theater. Yeah. And then eventually it was out on video, and I was like, well, I guess I missed my chance. I'm definitely not going to watch it now.
No. If you had a 3D TV maybe or something.
They're supposed to be making like 6 of them, too, I think. He's got them lined up to like 2030.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
They've been talking about that for like a decade.
Is there even a second one? There's no
No, it hasn't come out yet, but apparently he's got like
he's
scripts.
waiting for the technology to catch up or something?
Well, you'd think it's already going to be better than the first one. It was like 2012 or something, I want to say.
Oh, no. Avatar was
before that?
Time ago. I think so, yeah.
Oh, yeah? Maybe it was.
Yeah.
Maybe 2008 or something. I don't know.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Avatar. So it's supposed to be amazing. You've seen it though, right?
I mean, it's okay.
I think people like the message. It was like
The message about
pollution.
anti-pollution. It was what, like Planet Earth was whatever.
Save the weird blue people.
It was a weird PSA. Like just to have this big long movie just for a PSA, but like save the planet. It's like okay, well.
No, I'm definitely not gonna watch it. Man.
Some of the good movies that I was forced to watch because of this list though are a lot of Korean movies like Old Boy and like
Okay. Yeah, subtitles drive me fucking crazy.
Do they? Yeah.
I mean, I'll watch it and I've sometimes taken the plunge and been glad that I did, but it's a hard sell for me. And if it's black and white too, oh my god. I don't know why. I know that's so naive to say, and I know there's probably so many amazing black and white films, but it's like the difference of listening to like Beats headphones or listening to like a gramophone through some fucking giant shitty speaker. Like that's what it feels like to me. I try to watch a black and white movie, I'm just like, there's color, right? Like I know they didn't have that access back then, but like I can't help it. My brain just goes like, this would be so much better with color. But some people would argue that.
Louis C.K. actually all of his movies are all black and white just because he loves Woody Allen so much, and I think there's like an homage.
That's the other thing. There's some people who just do it to be fucking artsy, and that pisses me off too. And it's just like, oh, if I make it black and white, then it'll be deep. It's like, well, it still needs to be good.
Speaking of which, actually, I'll bring it up because whatever. I Love You, Daddy, which was Louis C.K.'s film that he was about to release before his whole scandal broke out.
Oh, I think I heard about this. Yeah.
So it was supposed to be out in theaters everywhere, whatever, and then the scandal broke out, and he never released his film, except you can find it on torrents.
Oh, have you seen it?
Yeah.
What was it good?
It's good. It's fucking amazing, especially in hindsight with everything that happened to him after. It was almost like a premonition about this weird creepy guy, and like he was like calling himself out in the movie, and it was
a little too close to home. Yeah, but you know what though, if he did that before things blew up, then maybe he secretly wanted to confess and shit, and it was like weighing on his conscience and
shit.
Maybe
it was actually freeing for him, and it was like, okay, well, he lost $25 million or whatever, but
once they caught him and it blew up, I'm sure he was like, I didn't want to be this free.
I just want to like tell like a priest and
I wanted it to be like loosely based on me. I don't know. We talked about that the other day too. Like it's a weird situation what happened with him.
Yeah, no.
You know? Because I mean,
I'm just saying, if you want to watch this movie, you can watch it for free. If you don't want to support him, you can watch it on torrents, and it's illegal, but it's still up there.
Yeah. Which he had a show too, I believe, some show in a bar. It was like
Horace and Pete.
Yeah. There you go. I saw like one episode or something, but
I liked it.
He's a funny guy, but it's just, I don't know, man. It's weird. That's the society we live on. That cancel culture. It's very easy to get on board with just throwing someone under the bus. And maybe you should. I don't know. But I always try to tell myself, I wasn't fucking there. I don't know exactly what went down. And that's not to discredit anyone and what they said.
I think he is as creepy as anybody's making out to be. For sure. 100%.
Exactly. We talked about this the other day, too. It's like, his stand-up was always about eating ice cream and jerking off and crying in the hotel room and stuff. It was like, not to say that justifies anything that he did that was inappropriate, but I would have never gone to a hotel room alone with this guy after seeing his material. Again, no right to whip out your dick just because someone did come to your hotel room. I'm not saying that, but he definitely, I feel like it was in there in the material. He was trying to tell people, much like this movie you're talking about. I don't know.
Well, it's actually funny you mentioned that because there's his first movie he ever directed was called Tomorrow Night, and it was in black and white. You can buy it for $5 on the website, whatever. And I downloaded it and watched it. And it was like this super weird indie film. Like it had was
it funny though? Was it comedy?
It was it was funny, but it was like film, like comedy noir kind of thing. Whatever, black and white, same thing. Amy Poehler was in there, just people randomly comics that he would get to do.
Well, he was on Parks and Rec.
Yeah, well, sure he was. Yeah, didn't he date Amy Poehler?
Yeah, that's probably why. That's the connection there. I bet you. Yeah.
But no, this was early in his career, and it was super weird film. But at some point, there's a scene where somebody's takes ice cream, scoops it in a bowl, and then sits on it, and it's I don't know if he's jerking off or something, but he sits in the ice cream bowl in the bathtub, and I guess that was actually based on his uncle, I believe. Like his uncle would. That was his thing.
Just,
you know?
eat ice cream in the bathtub?
No, like sit on a bowl of ice cream, like
Oh.
actually like your balls dipping inside the ice cream,
What the fuck?
jerking off, and he's like,
What?
that's what he grew up with as a role
That's
model.
weird.
Then yeah, obviously he's gonna be a little weird. You know what I mean?
Well, that's super weird. I was just gonna
Yeah.
say that's weird in the sense that like even if you wanted to do that, you'd think that would be like counterproductive to jerking off because like cold is supposed to make
blood,
your
yeah.
shit like retract and you know.
For some reason,
Weird.
there's this weird association.
Maybe he likes the challenge or something. That's weird.
yeah.
Oh man,
It makes it harder.
Dude,
for
people are into weird shit. I remember
That's the
watching.
thing, like you can't blame people for their kinks.
Yeah, I've always kind of had that mindset
Kink
too. As,
shame.
as long as you're not hurting anyone and you're not doing something that looks like you're probably going to go a direction where you're soon going to start hurting people. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
that's
some of
true.
the shit people are into, I go like,
It's
check
true.
this guy in a year and it might have gone overboard or whatever.
Yeah,
but like if
true.
it's just something weird that's completely harmless, meh, I don't really care. I
Yeah.
might like secretly judge you a little bit, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to like shame you.
Yeah.
You know, there's some weird shit out there. What do you? And a lot of it's rooted in people's childhood and the things that happen to them, whether it's messed up or just happenstance, like some, you know, like teacher you had a crush on and now you're into that body type or whatever.
Right,
you know,
right,
like.
right. Yeah.
But I watched this show called United States of Terra. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No,
It's
I don't
Toni Collette. She's a great actress. I think she's Australian or sort of British or something. But the show is all about her. She's this mom and she has, I know it's not the right term anymore, split personalities, but it's, I think, dissociative personality disorder or something is the correct term now.
Okay.
But it's really cool because she tries to still be there for her family, but she has these 3 or 4 other distinct personas that she'll just like switch into sometimes. And she's a great actress too because she'll do this thing with her eyes where she's just like kind of just like
So you know that there's a switch happening.
she just kind of like it zones out or whatever. And then like one of them is like a housewife from the 50s who's like, we've got to get ready for dinner, and she's like super, and if anyone swears she's like, I'm gonna wash your mouth out with soap, like. And then the daughter's like trying to deal with her because her other persona is called T, and she acts like a teenager who wants to borrow her daughter's like thongs and shit like that. And then there's another one who's named Buck who thinks he's a guy who's like a redneck who's always chain smoking. And then the husband's just trying to keep up because he fucking loves the regular version of this woman,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
and he's learned to like deal with all the other ones. Anyways, this is a long-winded way of saying that the daughter at one point, season 2 or 3 or whatever it was, she starts doing these videos called crush videos. I don't know if do you know what this is?
No.
It's like people who are turned on by watching girls like step on food, sit on cakes, things like that. She would sit on cakes in the video. She would like get like a nice cake from like fucking Dairy Queen or whatever, and then just like sit on it and like smush it with her head. Like kind of not even really like there's no nudity.
No.
There's no like penetration or anything fucking vulgar.
But some guys would be willing to pay money to see
yeah,
that.
it's like almost weirder to me when people are into that shit.
I know,
like,
me too, yeah.
If someone's like, oh, I like anal sex or whatever, I'd be like, yeah, you know,
Yeah, at least.
to each their own. Hey, good for you. Like,
Yeah.
but that seems somehow less weird than someone who wants to watch someone sit on cakes.
That is non-sexual, but you sexualize it for some reason.
Or dude, there's a whole I used to watch a show on TLC, or I should say my ex-wife used to watch it and I would see. It was called Strange Sex or something like that. It was all about people who had like weird sexual habits. And I learned there's this whole, obviously everyone knows about furries. I have a song about furries. I think they're hilarious. But these people were called looners, and they're like aroused by balloons and the squeaking noises that they make and blowing them up. It was this one guy.
I don't like that squeaky noise at
No,
all.
me neither.
Yeah.
It's like cutlery on a fucking...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but the dude would like blow up a balloon, and he gets like so excited when it's filling up, and then when it pops, he's like, oh. Not making this up, man.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's like a small fraction of the society or whatever, but like
Yeah.
there's still enough of them that there's a name for it. And there's like a convention they go to, and like, I don't know, man. It's fucked. But again, I don't really care. If those people are like...
You're not hurting anyone.
Yeah.
You're not like, especially, you're not hurting kids. You're not hurting any other people. Consenting, there's consent. It's like, whatever, to each their own.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of innocent and cute, I suppose, in a way that's...
I mean, sometimes it's like wasting food, but otherwise, like,
Yeah, in that case. I mean,
Yeah.
the balloon thing, though, yeah, it's really not hurting anybody. It's kind of freaking weird. But yeah, that's about all the weird sex things I know about. I did see another episode where a guy got penis cancer and had to have his dick removed.
What?
Yeah, dude. And then he got like a mechanical like pump up penis or something like that
Oh,
to
that
try to
sucks.
like satisfy his wife still. Oh, dude. The fact that
Could
that's
he
even
still
a thing.
ejaculate though? Could he still reach orgasm?
I don't know.
Probably not,
I saw
actually.
this like 10 years ago. I don't know.
Ugh.
Who knows? Yeah, because if his nuts were still there, they might have been able to like robotically hook his vas deferens up to some tube or something. I don't know, man.
Prostate something stimulation. I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, at least having the mechanical wiener, at least you can be like, hey,
you feel the ego of like,
or like just not have your wife leave you for some other guy because you're not like there, you know, and you last forever, I guess. I don't know.
It's true.
Until you stop pumping the thing or whatever. Anyways, but yeah, dude, I didn't know that was a thing either. And then I'm like, yeah, I guess you can get dick cancer, and it's
like
never left me since.
Dick cancer,
I'm always afraid now. No. But dude, just imagine, like, that's the thing that blows my mind the most about the world we live in is like the horribly unfair shit that some people, like the cards that some people just get dealt.
Yeah.
I'm like good fucking people who don't deserve. Sure. I don't know. I know that's the age old question of why do bad things happen to good people and yada yada. But
no, yeah, there's definitely no God.
You don't think? Oh yeah, that's we can go down a religious path. What's your religious?
I grew up Catholic.
Or spirituality, let's say. Yeah.
I grew up Catholic, very Catholic family, and all that. Whatever.
Let me guess, it was forced upon you.
Nah, a little bit, yeah.
The Catholic way.
I didn't even know it was a thing until like later on in life. It was just like my whole school.
That's how they get you.
It was. I grew up in a small town where the entire town went to this one school, and it was a Catholic school.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have a choice. You didn't have a choice between public Catholic, and yeah. So I had this one bit about the fact that we actually did confessional practices. So before your first confession, you had to do a dry run, if you will.
Don't waste that priest's time. You
exactly.
know what you're going to say.
You do a dry run. And our school was right next to the church, and it was in winter, so instead of getting all the kids dressed up, going to church to practice, whatever, in the confessional, they had the priest come in and do the confessional practice in the school, but the only place that made sense to do it was literally, this is no joke, the priest is sitting on the toilet. The kids are waiting outside of the bathroom to go into a bathroom, a toilet stall. Dude, with a priest.
Imagine he took a dump while...
He has his robe over the toilet and everything, and you're going in.
You're like mid-confessional, you just hear...
Yeah.
That was a terrible poo sound.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, that was again very bad. That was like a small...
So anyways, long story short, the joke is like, everybody, this is the 80s, everybody thought it was normal until one of the parents was like, this is a completely unacceptable. He called it school, and then they had the janitor install a glory hole so we could do it through the...
Because that's better.
Right? Because if
dude. So when did you like free yourself from the shackles of forced religion? Or,
well, interestingly enough, in high school, probably like just kind of whatever you start thinking on your own. You start smoking weed.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Well, I should say also, I'm not trying to shit on Catholics. If you're a Catholic who came to that decision in your adult life without influence from people like shoving it down your throat, whether literally or figuratively, then that's I try to respect anyone's religion, but what I don't like, and this isn't just Catholicism, but like institutionalized religion is just that whole recruiting of people who are like just these little developing brains. And when you're talking about stuff like morality and life and death and whether or not you're going to go to fucking hell and be burned alive for the rest of eternity, like that's some heavy shit to lay on a 4-year-old. You know what I mean? So, anyways, I don't know. Sorry to cut you off.
No, but it's... I was just talking this on the weekend. Actually, it's very, to me, like I find religion so fascinating. How
it's definitely fascinating.
Like if you think about like religion as a sort of a societal control tool that the elite had to develop because they were the ones that were educated. And so, for example, like the reason that you can't eat pork in Islam or Judaism is because they were dangerous parasites and
dirty animals,
and people were getting sick. So before. We had all this division of like, state and religion and whatever, like religion was everything. It was public health. It was education. Mm-hmm. It was all those things. So like to make people believe that they couldn't eat pork, they had to come up with these other reasons and these very simplistic reasons to tell people like, okay, don't eat this stuff or it's going to make you sick.
To dissuade them.
Yeah, so you can't really just tell them like, don't do this or else you're going to get sick because nobody's going to fucking listen, right? Yeah. So they had to instill some fear in it because, well, God's going to be watching.
Don't do this because God will be mad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was like this whole thing about like, now we have cameras in our whatever. We have surveillance cameras everywhere. Before that, they didn't have that. So they had to, the religion was the police state at the same time, right? So you had to develop this thought control or like this societal control mechanism where you could tell people, well, obey the law because God is watching and you're going to go to hell. Yeah. So now we at least have like the laws. If you get caught doing a crime, you might go to jail. You have all these consequences
for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, but it was is fucking brilliant that humans actually came up with religion to create societies.
I think
that were
it's a
like
mix. It's not the only reason they came up with it. I think the original reason is also because we're all confused by what the fuck we're doing here on this
for sure
crazy life we're living.
Like, originally it was like you saw a solar eclipse and it was like, oh well, we have to sacrifice a virgin on an altar, and then the solar eclipse goes away and you're like, well, I guess that worked. We're gonna keep doing that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
causation or whatever. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like religions all around the world, they develop independently, but that's the thing that's amazing too, is that we're all humans and we all independently came to these weird conclusions.
There's unifying things in all religions, which I find crazy that you can develop in different parts of the world and you still have these certain strings that attach each other. And that's the most annoying part about religion is how every religion and people that are very religious, they tend to focus on the few things that they don't have in common.
Yeah, I know.
And then like kill each other over that shit instead of like the massive amounts of things that they do have in common.
And they all have the golden rule.
The pork thing though, and this is probably wrong, but someone told me that it had something to do with the types of hooves they have, because it's like Satan has like goat feet or some shit like that.
Oh yeah, and it actually tastes. Apparently, pig tastes the closest to human flesh as well.
I've heard that as well.
Because
it's not something I'd like to know firsthand. But
well, in Polynesian cannibal cultures, they actually have a name for humans, which is like long pig. And apparently, like burning flesh. Actually,
how does that work? If you live in a culture where you eat other people, are you just constantly afraid?
Probably.
Like, Jerry's eyeing me pretty hard.
Right? Yeah. Does he want to fuck me or eat me? And I was like,
or eat me out. Yeah.
Yeah. Chew my dick, but
yeah. That's a new meaning to the term eating someone out.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. Cannibalism's fucked, man. Like I remember hearing about this article about in Japan or it was an Asian country, and it was this, and I think this is how they got around it too. It was this chef who identified as completely asexual. He was like, I don't need my dick. Like I don't have sex. I don't have any interest in sex. And he cooked and fed his own dick to a crowd, like a bunch of paying customers that were all like, well, this will be unique. Like, what the fuck?
Once in a lifetime.
Just messed up on so many levels, man. I don't know how you can never go back from eating human flesh. I'm sorry, but like, unless you were like in the movie Alive, have you ever seen that movie?
No, the one with the airplane crash?
Yeah, it's Ethan Hawke, one of Ethan Hawke's like first movies ever. And it was based on...
Again, that was a Simpsons reference, you mean? Remember?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
No, but it was based on real events. It was some soccer team that got stuck in the Andes, or I believe it was the Andes or the Adirondacks, or one of these mountain ranges in South America. And that's a fucked up movie, man, because no one wants to eat the people, but they get to that point where they're like, do I die or do I eat this person who's already dead?
Yeah.
And it's... But still, oh, damn, that's going to be some heavy shit, especially if you end up dying anyways. Imagine you don't make it out, and then you're like, damn, I could have died 2 days ago and not eaten a human. Like, now I got to die with that shit on my conscience?
And imagine if hell is actually real and you only go to hell because of that decision.
Oh, my God. Me and my buddies wrote a skit that we never filmed that I still think would be hilarious, and it was all about this guy. It started with a guy going into a convenience store and buying a lottery ticket. And he goes to the parking lot, starts scratching it like to quote The Simpsons, one Liberty Bell. Anyways, and then, he finds out, oh my God, I won. Like, what are the fucking chances I just won $20 million? Then gets struck by lightning. Right. Just because, like, they always say you're more likely to get struck by lightning than win the lottery. So I thought that was a funny way to, like, intro the skit. And then,
sounds like that Alanis Morissette.
Yeah, isn't it ironic? Yeah. So he goes to the pearly gates or whatever, and St. Peter or whoever's about to let him in. And they're like, yeah, let's just, you seem like a great guy. I'm just going to go over your file. Maybe because he's a white guy. I don't know. He gets privilege. You look kind of like Jesus. Oh, Jesus was like Middle Eastern, though. That's such a bullshit. Anyways.
He's black. Jesus is black. Yeah.
He's like, I'm just going to look up in your file. And then, really like calmly like, oh, I'm really sorry to tell you, but you were actually one jerk over the jerk-off quota limit. Like there's like this specific amount of times that you're allowed to jerk off, and then if you go over that, you go to hell. So that was the whole thing, is like he gets sent down to hell, and then he tries to explain. We almost got Ben Hagel to be in this too. He
would be a good,
He was supposed to play, because when the guy gets to hell, he's like, oh, this isn't that bad. It's like an office with all these cubicles and stuff, and they're like, yeah, it's not that bad at all. And then he tries to log in on the computer, and like all they have is porn or something like that. And then the cubicle guy was supposed to be Ben, who like pops up over the side, and he's like, hey, it's almost 5 o'clock. And then another Ben pops up, and it's all the same guy, like working all around him. And then the guy who got sent to hell is like, why? What happens at 5 o'clock? And he's like, company jerk off or something like that. And like, I don't even remember the rest of the skit, but man, oh yeah, I probably just butchered that. But anyways, I couldn't help but think of that shit.
You could still do it. Still relevant.
It's true, man. Like, my main thing right now is I want to try and make some legitimate music videos for some of my comedy songs because, especially I wrote a song about, anti-masks. I know you did something as well.
Yeah,
I think they're very different, but
Yeah.
I wrote a song just kind of because it was pissing me off, man. You go to the grocery store and people like with their noses hanging out and all that shit. And but it's just I want to get a video because I think it really grabs people a little more than. If I just put a video of me playing it on stage somewhere or whatever, I mean, that's fine, but it's harder to get people to pay attention than if you've got like a really immersive music video.
Yeah.
And I don't want to miss the, I'm hearing about the vaccines almost ready. I'm like, shit,
There's
this is going to
small
become
window.
really, everyone will remember, so it's probably still applicable for a few years. But that's kind of, if I do manage to find the time, I'm going to try and focus on doing some music videos, I think.
They're super fun to make too.
I made one for an actual song that I had, the theme song for my show, actually.
Yeah.
But I've never done a comedy one, so I think it'll be even more fun.
Were you a fan of John LaJoie and other?
Oh yes, dude. John LaJoie, Flight of the Conchords, Weird Al. Like every musical comedian has always left a big impact on me. Tim Minchin, I don't know if you know Tim Minchin. That
British
song,
guy,
I've only ever heard that Prejudice song, but it's amazing.
I've only watched his special. Actually, I've never watched his other stuff.
Go look up Tim Minchin Prejudice. It's like the funniest song. I'm gonna spoil it for you right now and for your viewers.
Whatever.
But he goes on this whole like lead in, making you think that he's talking about the N-word. And it turns out that he's talking about the word ginger, which has the exact same letters, and he's a ginger, and it's like only a ginger can call another ginger.
Right.
It's I know, I think it's brilliant, honestly, because it's what like rappers do, right? Like we can't say it, but they can, and that's fine. I'm not hating on that, but it was a genius concept to spin that on its head a little bit. And
that's true.
Everybody hates on gingers in almost a racist way, like you know what I mean, because of South Park and shit.
And it actually has the same letters. That's amazing. Yeah. It's an anagram, I think. Almost.
Yeah, because when he's leading into, he's like, a couple of G's, an R and an E, an I and an N, and you're just like, and then he makes this face, the audience like, oh shit, what's he about to say? Oh man, it's just brilliant. You have to, and he's playing piano barefoot on stage. I don't know. Everything about it was magical to me.
I remember watching his special, and it was like him on the piano. He's like just a brilliant guy, but like
so
like people like Bo Burnham and
Bo Burnham. Thank you. Oh my God, how did I forget him?
Yeah, it's like they're just like so brilliant.
His special What is probably one of my, like, if not my favorite, definitely top 3 like comedy specials of all time. Yeah. Because it's so fucking all over the place.
Yeah.
Even the beginning, he does this like that intro, like welcome to the show, and he takes off his pants, and there's another layer of pants underneath, and like, what else? Play the invisible trumpet sound. It's just like everything about it is so many layers of craziness. Like
I know, right?
I don't know, and he's a phenomenal musician on top of that. So
yeah.
Piano, man. I wish I fucking learned how to play piano.
Well, you play guitar. You play.
I can fuck around on a piano. I just don't know how to like. I wish I could play like one of the guys. Like.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
They always show them in movies and stuff. Just and everybody stops what they're doing and starts jamming out. Like I don't know. There's just something magical about that instrument to me. There's so much range. And then when you get into like a synthesizer, you basically can become any instrument.
It's true.
Doesn't sound as good, but.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I wish I had a good piano training when I was younger. 'Cause I think it's like learning a second language or a third language. Like you need to learn it at a young age for it to be
really
internalized in your brain.
Yeah. Because you play guitar too.
Yeah, I played guitar since I was 12. Like guitar, I feel pretty comfortable with. Like I'm not a great guitarist, but I can like at least do whatever.
Chords. And
but piano, I have to think about it. Like I always have to like, oh, what's the next chord? What's this? Whatever. Yeah, it doesn't feel natural.
Guitar for me, I feel like. My weak spot is like solos and shit. I've always been a rhythm guitarist. I always want to play stuff I can sing to.
Yeah.
And I mainly play reggae, ska, some punk.
Whatever.
But I'm really getting into bass lately, man.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why. Probably because I've been into reggae since I was like 13. So, drum and bass is like the backbone of reggae music.
Fair.
So the other thing I really love about reggae, which I feel like a lot of people write reggae off as being like... I remember How I Met Your Mother had a joke with Barney where he's like, "Oh yeah, reggae, yeah, I love that song." And like every song's the fucking same or whatever. But
it is a lot of like the different
the
stroke.
Upstroke, for sure.
Yeah,
but I mean, rock has a lot of distortion. Like jazz has a lot of fucking crazy solos, and
I know.
But what I love about reggae and the Jamaican mindset behind it is that it's like this trance like meditative thing that like the drum and bass is so repetitive, but in this really like tribal primal way that kind of just like you start to just go, well, which of course pairs perfectly with some heavy ass weed, which is why like the Rastas just zone out and whatever, but it's bliss, man. I wish I could be that free. I don't know about you, like do you have anxiety at all or no?
So I was on SSRIs until last month actually, and I have a joke about that, how I was like,
what did they have you on?
Ciprolex it was called.
Yeah, there's probably so many I haven't even heard.
Yeah,
I took
whatever.
Prozac back in the day for like 5 years.
I was only on them for like about 8 months, and I literally. My joke is like, I'm off antidepressants. People are like, yeah. It's like I didn't graduate out of depression. I just like forgot to refill my prescription. And that's a true story. It just happened that like I was like, oh shit, I'm running out, and I forgot to refill it. And I was like, you know what? Like, fuck it, I'll just go off. And I went off cold turkey.
And then they're like, is he gonna pull out a gun?
yeah, basically, yeah. But yeah, so like I've been like off them for like probably like 6 weeks now.
And
So I had the first 2 weeks were like a manic episode, which actually
it's
kind
withdrawal and shit.
Yeah, it's withdrawal and everything. Your serotonin goes all whatever, which I kind of like, because manic is like usually the ones that you actually like. You're like, hey,
life is grand.
Yeah, I don't need a lot of sleep. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And then like followed by the fucking depressive episode, and I was sort of balanced out since then. But yeah, I've been. Since I was doing the Sober October, it kind of coincided with the Sober October. I was like, I'm gonna be like sober. I'm gonna get off the meds. Try to get everything like doing things naturally.
Yeah.
And
exercise. And
I just
eat healthy.
Be more conscious of the feelings. So like, because the SSRIs sort of mask your feelings a bit.
Dude, I can speak to this so much. I started taking fluoxetine, I think is the real name, but Prozac essentially is the commercial name. I want to say about 17. It was like literally right after high school.
Right.
I'm a December baby, so I graduated at 17, and I took a year off after. And in some ways it was grand. I hung out with my girlfriend at the time a lot, but it got to a point, I think, where I was directionless and I didn't know where I was headed, and I started to spiral out. And that's when my OCD, like, I've had symptoms of OCD since I was like about 10 years old, but that was when it like really took a hold of me, and I was like, all right, I need to get a therapist and fucking get on top of this shit. But same thing, when I actually took the pills, I felt like it did mitigate the symptoms that I was trying to deal with, but it also made me feel like kind of like a zombie, and like I didn't want to write music.
Yeah.
I gained weight. Your sex drive goes down. Like all this shit that's like not really worth it. I mean, it's worth it if you have no other option.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try and take back my cerebral state here a little bit and try to like get in control. And I still fucking struggle all the time, but I like being able to say I'm struggling because I'm being myself, and I'm trying to do this. I'm not trying to medication shame either, because I know a lot of people that it helps.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That's the right path for some people.
Yeah.
And it may be one day, maybe I'll have to do that again. I don't know. Sometimes I have episodes where I'm like, holy shit, do I, need to, my heart's beating pretty fast or whatever. But
me too.
Yeah, man. But it's stuff like this makes me feel better. Like Code Names I did with Tim and them last night. I was having the worst anxiety for like 3 days. And then, just connecting with other human beings, laughing, like just really being in the moment and appreciating life. That's honestly what I think is the best remedy. I just suck at adhering to that for the most part. Like meditation and stuff is so key, and I suck at actually making the fucking time to do it,
I've been, since the pandemic, I've been meditating every single day. Now I'm at like 200 days right now in a row. Because I bought...
Like how long do you do it for? Like,
so it ranges between 10, 15, or 20 sessions, whatever.
You've never done like some tantric is sex. But you know what I mean? Like some like 2 hour like out of body experience or something? Or?
Probably half hour is probably the most I'll do. Usually like 15 or 20, whatever. It's good enough for me. But yeah, I've been meditating every single morning since the beginning of the pandemic. And because I bought this headspace for a year or whatever, it's like $89 for a year, so I'm trying to reach like 365, and it's really helped with feeling the feelings and actually like pinpointing. I was like, oh, okay, this is this feeling, this is what's happening right now. Like it's not so much I can change it, it's just being conscious of like, oh, I'm feeling anxious right now. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, I can like almost take a step back. It's like a sort of like an out of body experience, where you can like you're not engaging, you're not trying to like wrestle with your feeling. You're just kind of like
you're just accepting
back.
it.
You're just like, okay, well, so right now I'm anxious. Right now I'm depressed.
Well, that's the key thing about meditation. They speak about the monkey brain or whatever. I don't know if you've heard that. That like when you meditate and you focus on your breathing, your monkey brain is going to chatter. It's going to do this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Let it come. Let it flow out of you. Just kind of like don't fight it. Just accept it. And I've dealt with that with OCD too. Like something that happens a lot is like intrusive thinking. I don't know if you've ever had that, but it's like, You're, like, and it's funny because I've looked this up on forums and stuff, and I was reading the other day about this, and some guy was like, oh yeah, like sometimes I'll just be holding a baby and be like, I could fucking break this baby if I just threw it on the ground, like shit like that. And then you're like, oh my god, why would I ever think that? But then you start to like fixate on that, and you're like, oh my god, am I a fucked up person because I thought that fucked up thought, and blah, 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 and you just like spiral out, and then you realize like everybody thinks fucked up shit. Everybody, it's whether or not you go through with fucked up shit. Like that's the big difference. But you know, it's weird how the brain will self-sabotage like that sometimes. That's the part of my anxiety that I resent the most. Is just like, bro, I just feel like being like, bro, like, we're stuck in this fucking body together. Like, can you fuck off, brain? Like, what do you do? What do you think you're accomplishing here? Like, are you looking for us to go in or whatever, you know? It's and I have so much envy for people that truly know how to, like, relax. I could honestly say I don't remember the last time I felt, like, really relaxed. I don't know. I try, and I just, like, something comes up, or I find I function a lot better when I'm kind of just busy, and being productive. Creating things gives me a lot of joy. And the show, talking and learning things from people, and that's my favorite part about podcasting is just new insight from people you meet and perspectives and stuff, and it enriches my life for sure. But goddamn, if it isn't a struggle sometimes, you know.
Man, it's like, to me, being relaxed might be like just 30 seconds.
Yeah,
that might be like, okay, I'm relaxed, and then I'm starting to think like, oh, I'm relaxed. Oh, I lost it.
Yeah, I got this thing to do, or what? Yeah. I mean, I would say when I went to Jamaica. Or any tropical place. Like, there's definitely been times where I'm just lying on the beach drunk with the sun on me, and that'll clear your head pretty quick, man.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That just does it for me. It's just so, like, it's like a sauna or something. It's just, maybe it's the temperature. I don't know.
There's definitely, there's probably a physical aspect
to it. The skin cancer probably setting in.
For sure.
Yo, man.
I mean, I do wish to be, like, I don't want to be sober. I never, like, I have a drinking problem probably, and you know, and all that.
It's a pandemic. Everyone has a drinking problem.
Substance abuse. I used to smoke weed way too much and all that.
Still smoke weed way too much.
Well,
mine's medical, so I guess that makes it okay.
Whatever. I do wish I could be at a point where I just don't feel the need for those things.
Yeah, like you could just be satisfied waking up. I mean, yeah, I know what you mean.
You know?
The problem is when I try that, and maybe that's just a period I have to get through, but when I try to, like, completely detox or whatever, all my, like, mental, like, problems get way worse, you know? And it's probably because I'm self-medicating or whatever, or officially medicating when it comes to weed. Like, that's from Health Canada, so somebody believed my story. But I don't know, man. Yeah, it's a hard struggle, and it's something I know exactly what you mean. I wish I could just be like Bruce Lee or one of these people who's just, like, so in control of their vessel, you know, and just not even, I don't know. I always feel like I'm at the mercy of my mental illnesses. You know,
and sometimes I feel like, okay, well, I'm in this city right now, which is completely unnatural. Like, I need something unnatural to cope with, like, just this whole fucking society, which is like completely crazy. Like, why do I think I can do this on my own? Sometimes, you know what I mean? Like,
dude,
that's
I could
how
never
it rationalized.
Live downtown. Downtown would drive me nuts if I lived there.
Yeah,
do you live downtown or no?
Hintonburg.
Oh, well, that's kind of
close enough.
That's not as bad as, like, being, like, in Centertown or something, but
no.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I do sometimes envy people who live out in the country and they just look at the stars at night and, like,
I could be like a recluse, like just a hermit living on in a cottage.
I don't know that I could, because I'm like some fucking attention seeker. I don't know if that's narcissism or what, but, like, I think that I just like human interaction. I think is what it comes down to.
If I could get teleported at night to my cottage and then teleported at the comedy club and whatever, you know, I could probably do it.
That's the one drawback, honestly. Yeah. But no, that would be the best way to unwind at the end of the day. Just, like, on your porch, no neighbors in sight, just like watching the sunset or some shit. Yeah. Oh, for real, man. Yeah. Although there's a sketchy factor, I suppose, to living in the middle of nowhere, that if someone does try to come and kill your whole family, the cops aren't going to be there anytime soon.
That's true.
But what's the chance? Well, I know actually a couple that lives out in the country, and obviously they didn't get murdered, but they got, like, all their shit stolen or something, or they got broken into, and it was very, like, scary for them, obviously, because you call 911 and it's like
well,
the nearest,
we're gonna be 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
like, try not to die.
Yeah.
Lock yourself into the bathroom. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. I think they just stole their plant. I think they were growing weed and they stole their plants and broke in and they realized there wasn't anything of, like, extreme value, so they just fucked off. But yeah, I don't know. There is, like, for me, if I lived in the country, I would have that horror movie, like, scenario maybe playing in the back of my head.
Would you?
Well, for the first couple of weeks at least. I'd probably get used to it, but
I grew up in the country, so I was like, whatever.
Do you like horror?
Yeah. I mean, I like.
I was just gonna bring it up because I feel like I'm growing out of it the older I get, and with kids and stuff. Like when I was a teenager, I loved going and watching.
You know what I watched?
Saw or whatever. Now it's just like too intense. I'm like, I just want to watch comedy and music and podcasts.
I grew up with actually I loved like Evil Dead too and stuff like.
But that's
like comedy,
those
horror,
are
whatever.
so cheesy.
Yeah, they're super cheesy. Whatever. I remember when I was a kid, we used to do these things with our friends, and it was kind of cool. It was like these two girls and we're like two guys, and we would like just rent a horror movie, like Jason or whatever, like Halloween or
Freddy or whatever.
Freddy, and we would just like watch these horror movies, and it was like. Some of them were like super cheesy. There's like this Dr. Giggles, I think he's called, and he would like just have these cheesiest lines right before murdering someone. He's like, "This is a doctor that makes house calls," and it's like, whatever.
Here's your prescription.
Yeah, exactly. And we used to love that stuff, but now I would never watch that again. Except my wife wanted to watch this Korean zombie movie recently.
What's it called?
I forget what it's called. Train to Busan. And I fucking hated it.
Oh, yeah?
I hated it because the way that and I understood the way that they directed the movie to build the suspense. They have to make the characters look like super stupid and like indecisive. And I'm like, oh my God, just fucking go. And
That's like a classic horror movie thing, though. Like,
I know, right?
Like, maybe we should split up.
Yeah.
Like, fucking no. There's a guy murdering people. Like, maybe you should stick the fuck together.
I know, right? But I was not able to enjoy it because of that. I could not separate myself from like just enjoy it as is. I was just like so like frustrated at how dumb the characters were.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up Evil Dead though, because I feel like that's the weirdest trilogy because not counting the TV show or whatever, but the first movie they put an earnest effort to try to make a horror movie. But they were these college kids, they didn't have a lot of money, so they overdid like all the gore, like stab a guy and it's like blood everywhere. And then the second movie,
we were talking,
the second movie, I feel like Evil Dead 2, they kind of like, they were still like, all right, it's got to be a horror movie, but people seem to laugh at certain parts. They kind of leaned into it a bit. And then Army of Darkness is just a comedy movie, like the third one where he gets the.
I've never seen the third one actually.
Oh no, dude! Oh my God, have you seen the first two?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you have to. It's arguably the best one.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, because in that one he gets transported back in time to this like medieval time where there's this big war going on. Oh sorry.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't know. It's just funny because he's just like not stuck in a cabin the whole movie. He's like actually dealing with some king and these demons and I don't know. It's really, and it's meant to be a comedy.
Now you mentioned it, I think I might have seen it. I forgot
he gets
about this.
Face stretched out at one point, like really long. And
I think I might have seen it, but it's been a while.
I think, is that the one where he gets the chainsaw hand though, or was that the previous? That might be happening in number 2. I don't remember.
When he cuts off his hand?
I know he cuts off the hand in the second one, but does he get the chainsaw?
Oh yeah, right. Okay.
I can't remember.
I don't know.
But there's some great lines in there where because he has his shotgun transported back in time with him. So that's how he gets like control of all the civilians. He says like, you see this? This is my boomstick. Like they've never seen a gun before or whatever. And to them it's like magic and shit.
Yeah.
That would probably be one of the funnest things ever, to go back in time with like a bunch of technology from now and just blow people's minds. You become like the king in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking like going back in time and doing a Rubik's Cube in front of people. It'd be like, just blow their minds. Oh my God.
Or even simple like sleight of hand. Maybe they had that back then. They might have had like street magicians. There was no David Blaine back then. They're like coughing up a frog or whatever.
Well, if we're talking about religion and Catholicism, like I thought about like nowadays, if you saw somebody walking on water, you'd be like, that's cool, but there's a trick, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
how's he doing this?
Yeah.
Jesus is like, what? Yeah, imagine.
No, like,
isn't
Jesus
that so?
like,
Dude, if
like,
Jesus came back
this.
for the second coming, I feel like people would just like, they would just assume like it was some poser guy or whatever.
Like David Copperfield made the Statue of Liberty disappear. Like, that's cool, but whatever, man.
Yeah.
You got to work on your,
No one wants some wine? Yeah. Water to wine here, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That's we were talking about religion before, and one thing I wanted to point out was you were talking about how it's like this tool to control people and stuff. That's another reason that like I try to glean something from every religion that I can find useful in my own life, and try to like look at the larger message and the context behind. Like
I do think they had good intentions at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean the 10 Commandments are not bad things to follow. Like you probably have a pretty good non-incarcerated life if you follow them.
Yeah.
But the reason I kind of quaff at people who take things for like word for word is just that exactly that the institutions who were in power in the year 1000, in the year 1200, like every whatever, the change of the regime and the new person comes into power, they're all going to make their own alterations to serve their specific agenda. But the problem is when that's happened so many times, it's like telephone, right? Like you get a bunch of kids in a room, the message is not the same by the end. And it might have fractions of the original phrase was like, Jane's going to the store, and I don't know, maybe it ends up like Jim's wants some more or something. I guess usually just rhymes, or it's usually purple monkey dishwasher to quote the Simpsons again.
Exactly.
But I don't know, like I feel people that are so staunch on like, no, you must take it for its word. It's like, dude, like come on, like think about this logically for a second. I'm not trying to throw your entire belief system down the gutter either, but I'm just trying to like ask you to think about this from a rational perspective of like, even if this was written from the hand of God, a lot of non-God people have fucked with it since then. That's just like something that humans are shitty people. It's something that happened. And especially back then, like they killed people for nothing back then. We're talking about doing magic back in time. I take that back completely. I would have been burned at the stake within like 5 minutes. I would have been a heretic or some shit.
You show up there with the shirt and you're like, that's
where should we go? Salem sounds nice. Let's go back to 1600s. Salem, they'll appreciate magic. Like, why are they burning all these people? Dude.
I do. The one thing I do think that or institutionalized, organized religions have that we are sort of missing right now is this sense of community.
Definitely, I think it's
I think
and faith is great too. Like having faith that things will get better, or not even that, but that if you try to be a good person, it'll probably make the world a better place.
Yeah,
that's not saying you're not going to get hit by a bus or some random shit, like, because who knows, act of God, whatever you want to call it, but at least you could say when you got hit by that bus, if you go to the afterlife, or if there is an afterlife, then you can say, well, I tried my best to like brighten people's day and be there when people needed assistance, and not be super selfish all the time, which I think we're all guilty of in this current landscape.
Well, I mean, that's the golden rule that all the religions have in common is like, do unto others as you would like them unto others. Like,
that's weird, though.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
Because that doesn't always work. Do unto others like you would want them to do unto you. What if you want to get beaten and fucked with a corn cob or something? Like, well, I guess I'm going to do that to other people.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's true. That's true.
But that's exactly what we're talking about here. It's that like, take the message, but you don't have to like
take it literally.
Every single syllable must be exactly how it. I don't know. I think the world is in some ways a better place because of religion and because of religions specifically. I like that there's
multiple ones in that.
Yeah, there's a breadth of stuff you can sort of consume, or whatever you want to call it.
So actually, that's one thought I've had about religion. I don't know if I can express it properly, but like, you have kids, and hopefully my kids aren't watching this, but like, they have to believe in Santa Claus for a little bit.
I would hope so, after cannibalism and all the other shit.
That's true. Yeah, probably best if you're here now, like, turn it off. Like, this is about to get shit real. But it's actually apparently, like, scientifically, it's good for kids to believe in things like Santa Claus. It doesn't have to be Santa Claus per se, but like from the age of like 0 to 6 or 7, it's actually good for their imagination to believe in this fantastic things.
That magic could be
real.
That
magic can be real and all that.
Yeah.
But it's good for them to grow out of it. Right? Like, you can't still believe in Santa Claus when you're 20, whatever.
You can, but
you can.
That'd be really weird.
Elf, whatever that movie will.
Speaking of which, dude, I was like one of the kids who was like the last to...
Were you?
Dude, me and one other guy in grade 4 were like 10 years old. We're like, fuck you all. Santa's only going to bring us presents this year. You guys are non-believer or whatever. And then my parents, I came home and I told them, like, we told them. And my parents like, all right, like, no, you're the weird kid now. we need to tell you.
Yeah.
And we went through that with my kids. My little guy obviously believes. He's only 3.5, but
me too.
It's sad. Even as a parent, it's kind of a bummer because you relive your own the moment that happened to you as a child. Almost, you're like, oh shit, I remember when things started to get real.
Yeah,
but it's good.
The veil was lifted off your eyes, and you see the world as yeah.
Well,
I'm good.
I'll try one of the boots, please. Thank you. Yeah. Sure. Oh, okay, there you go. Hey, man, I got to walk home from here.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean, so it's like religion is the same thing where it's probably good for people to think of like Jesus as being a magician, being able to walk on water for a bit, and then they have to realize like, okay, it's an allegory. It actually means something. It's an interpretation.
Say for sure, I suppose, unless you were there.
But the thing is, like, the allegory of Jesus walking water is actually so much better than just him just being like, okay, just whatever, he walked on water. Like if you actually read
because honestly,
story,
just doing it itself is kind of just like showing off.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what the fuck is the point?
Guess what my dad lets me do?
Yeah.
Not adhere to physical restrictions or whatever,
Yeah.
But if there's a message behind
but
it.
But the message, and apparently the message behind it, what I've read, is that, the water representing everything that was dark, because people were really afraid of water back then. They didn't swim. They thought...
People drown all the fucking time.
Yeah, that's what kills people, literally. Yeah. So it was like basically Jesus was the savior and the fish that they threw the net to catch in, and it was like... They caught like 213 fish, and it was like 2 plus 1 is the Holy Trinity, and then they were fishing on the right side of the bark the whole time, and then they on the boat, and then they set it on the other side, and it was the boat itself is like the upside down church, because it looks like it's like the whole the symbolisms of like just thinking like, oh, these writers that wrote this shit were actually like pretty smart guys.
Yeah,
there's at least smart guys enough to think. Probably all men. Let's be honest. Like back in the day, the only ones that were educated. But the fact that they actually wrote this thing together meant like not from the gods. Like I'm talking about like real people.
But that's the other thing too. Maybe the guy that wrote it heard from his buddy. Yo, did you hear Jesus walk on water? And and he gave him a really detailed story. And like, oh damn, I should write this down. Like I don't know how much of this is hearsay. That's what I always wonder.
Anyways, all I'm saying is like it's probably good for you to believe in something when you're a kid, grow out of it, start to think critically for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
But the priests or the Vatican or whatever, they can't really go out and say like all this is not real, it's just an allegory, because there's still some people that are still figuring it out.
Die hard. Yeah.
So they can't.
Oh, thank you.
So much.
The story that sticks with me, because sorry, I should say I went to Catholic school, and my family's not religious. My mom is very spiritual, but not religious at all.
Right.
She's like reading books on how birds are like spirit animals and that kind of shit. Like she's very open to like everything but religion, essentially, which is kind of cool. And then my dad is like essentially an atheist, like borderline. He hopes for more. I'm sure he hopes there's something else when he dies and he still gets to spend eternity with the love of his life or whatever. But they're both scientists, and he takes that much harder. Like, no, I'm pretty sure when you're done, you're done.
Yeah.
But sort of like you with living in a small town. We lived here, but it was mainly like my parents put my older brother, who's a couple years older than me, in Catholic school. It was a Catholic French school too, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
And the French was the reason he got out of there. But then they put him in a public school. And they just didn't like the teachers and the administration, the way they're running things. They would leave the kids out in the rain and recess, and I don't remember the stupid reason. But eventually they're like, well, we've done some reading and research, and this school seems like a really wholesome place. And my dad, his parents were Catholic, so I don't know, maybe they told him, like, good idea, or I don't know. But the weird thing is, me and my brothers were never baptized, and we were, I want to say, the only people in the entire school that weren't. There's maybe a couple other kids I didn't know or whatever, but so it gave me kind of a weird complex, because we would go walk to mass at the nearby church like at least once a month and sing hymns and all that shit.
Yeah.
And I would be the only fucking guy who didn't get to eat the cracker, and like I didn't get confirmation. And I guess I could have chosen to, but like I don't think it's right for a kid to decide to get baptized. You should be a grown ass adult and then be like, you know what, I want to be baptized, and then that's totally awesome. I'm glad you came to that decision. That's great. Like, I'm happy for your personal journey. But like, weighing that on a kid is like, I don't know, it's heavy shit.
My kids aren't baptized. My son goes to a Catholic French school because we were fucking lazy, and it was the closest school to us. We were like, oh yeah, whatever.
Same sort of thing. Like, this was
it just happened to be like the down the street. It was like, he's gonna go there.
I only bring this up because later, I think I took religion. I went to a Catholic school up till about grade 8, but in 7 and 8, at least they started teaching world religions at that school. So I was like, it sort of opened my eyes a bit. But honestly, I just got sick of hearing the same stories. Every Easter, you hear about him rising from the dead. Every Christmas, you hear about him being born, even though he wasn't born in fucking December. So,
no, but that was because to line up with the pagan sun worshippers and everything.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Oh man.
That's what I mean. It's actually fucking fascinating, because the whole thing about like being dead and resurrected 3 days later is because on December 21st,
the equinox or whatever, the sun starts going back up again.
And then it's like
have you seen Zeitgeist then?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, but it's like they tell. The worst part is you watch Zeitgeist and you're thinking, oh my god, this is a big conspiracy, and then you go to church and they actually tell you exactly the same thing. They tell you flat out.
Crazier than that is how Zeitgeist says that the whole like all the things that are indicative of Jesus' story, like being born under the star and dying and being resurrected 3 days later and all this stuff, was already done like 25 times over by different religions that had nothing to do with Catholicism, but they had that same
figured out this sort
archetype for the savior or whatever. And and I'm not. That doesn't need to detract from it. It doesn't mean there's no value there. It just means
it adds anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's that whole unifying thing of like they're all kind of like worshiping the same shit. They just choose to focus on the differences and the discrepancies or whatever. What I was going to say, though, about growing up in Catholic school, the one story that, like, pisses me off as a critical thinker now is the story of Doubting Thomas. You know what I'm talking about?
St. Thomas, he would just sit.
No, not St. Thomas, I don't think. Maybe it is. I don't know. But it's the guy who, like, Jesus,
didn't see it.
Yeah, Jesus rose from the grave, and he just didn't believe it. And he had to see the wounds in the hands and all that.
Yeah.
That's them trying to say... Don't look for actual like evidence in the world.
Don't be a
just
scientist.
Trust us. Just trust us.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's such a deceptive practice to be like.
It's true. Yeah.
Don't think critically for yourself, and that to me is such a commandeering thing to do to your public or your followers or whatever. It's like I kind of get the message they're saying, because that someone would hear me say this and be like, well, I guess he has no faith. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, sure, okay, you can have all the faith, buddy. Like. But I don't know. It just irked me, that one story. There's so many stories I love from the Bible.
It's almost like anti-science in a way, right?
It's very much anti-science. It's very much anti-individualist thinking. It's like just listen to what you're supposed to listen to, and you'll be good. You don't want to be ostracized. You don't want to be different. You don't want to stand out for your. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I kind of do. Like,
oh, dude, there's so many wrong things with religion, like crusades and like you know just humans taking something with a good intention, turn it to shits, whatever. Like, yeah, for sure. So many ways you can criticize religion.
This is how I formed my game plan for the afterlife, though. Is honest to God, if I die and there's some sort of a, hey, let's evaluate you or whatever. Maybe Jesus even. Maybe he's got a clipboard and he's like, let's see if you get into my club, motherfucker, or whatever. Yeah. I'm just going to say, dude, like, you try to live in this crazy world. I think I did pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, like I raise my kids to treat people with respect. Yeah. I try to do the same myself. I try to not fucking litter and destroy the planet. I try, and it's like no one's going to be perfect, but as long as your heart's in the right place and you're not doing heinous shit, then I don't know, man. That's what we should be focusing on. Everybody makes mistakes, and that's what I don't like about religion is there's a lot of mentality of just like the whole sinner thing. It's like, that's such a fucking broad term. What is a sin? And jerking off's a sin. Not going to church on Sunday is a sin. I fucking your neighbor's wife, that's a sin. It's like all these natural things. And it's like, well, why did God design us to have those urges then? Or is that the devil? I don't fucking know. It's just... I hate that's such a cop-out too. Anything negative, that's the devil speaking. Yeah. That shit pisses me off. Like,
that's actually so the psychological repercussions of instilling that on children.
I have so much Catholic guilt, dude. I have so much Catholic guilt, and I'm not even a Catholic. Yeah. And my logical brain goes, oh, well, that's silly. But there's this... Well, Jesus is going to be mad at you. I'm like, I don't even follow that religion anymore. Why do I care?
Yeah.
But it's still, that's why I think that when kids have that sponge-like brain, just teach them to be good people. And that doesn't mean they can't become Catholic or Buddhist or whatever when they grow up. That's great. Again, if you come to your own conclusions, I respect the shit out of that, even if I don't agree with them. Yeah. But I don't know. And it sounds mean because parents think they're doing the right thing, especially if that's how they were brought up.
For sure.
Then they're just like, oh, well, my daddy.
Well, I don't think our parents thought even. Well, maybe your parents thought about it. Like my parents probably didn't even think there was an option.
When I talk about this to my parents now, they're like, you're over exaggerating. Yeah. I'm like, I have tons of Catholic. I mean, it might be my OCD and anxiety and other things playing in there too, but I'm like, no, you don't know like what it's like to have all those heavy moral things thrown at you when you're at such a young age, and it feels so serious and scary and judgmental, and I don't know. I just think that it hurts more people than it helps a lot of the time, people growing up.
See, that's the thing, is like we'll never know if you could have like a parallel universe where you were brought into whatever,
do like an experiment.
A real experiment. I don't know, maybe it had some really good impacts on the decisions I made as a child, and eventually, where I was led up. But there's a lot of guilt.
Some things speak for themselves, and I'm not trying to get too dark here, but like the Catholic Church's history of like priests molesting boys, like that's a hardcore fact. And it's like, it's so shocking. I remember hearing something on the radio a few years ago, and it was about they had uncovered all these horrible things that priests had been doing, and it was in like just the state of Pennsylvania. And they're like, it goes back to the 70s, and we're thinking it's like 6,000 cases or something, just this mind-blowing number. I'm like, oh my God, like, I thought this was something that was like an off thing that happened once in a while, and then you realize it's like institutionalized.
Okay, but as a man, like, okay, if you had this vow of chastity and you knew that this whole thing was like you had to suppress all your urges, like, obviously you're gonna end up doing some really fucked up shit.
Not that fucked up. Get a sex doll or something.
I know,
I would
but
rather hear that priests are out like banging whores, and you're like, yeah, we caught Father McNulty with another hooker.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, she was his age, and I mean, even if it's a male hooker, who cares? Like, I mean, it's certainly against their religion, but like, I wouldn't care. I'd be like, cool, another consenting adult, good for you.
But the whole system of having like vows of chastity and like having like celibacy and all that is so fucked up.
Some of them don't. There's like ministers, or there's one where you're allowed to have a wife. And and that's so much more.
It's so much better. Yeah,
probably not allowed to have a husband though.
Probably not. No.
But that's dumb to me.
Like,
too.
who cares? Like that to me is like one of those. Yeah.
And the amount
that's
of times
my stance on everything. Is like, who cares? Is it hurting me? Like, what? I don't give a shit.
And the amount of times that somebody's like homophobic and is secretly kind of gay.
Yeah, for sure.
It just makes me laugh
all
at
the
this point,
time.
where I'm just like, dude, like, stop being angry at other people because you can't accept what you are. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. To each their own. I don't know. It's probably the same with a lot of things. People always project onto others their inner fears, and you know what I mean? Like, people will accuse somebody else of something that they're secretly guilty of a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You have some politician who's like, we will stop that, blah, 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 and then you find out he's doing exactly that. You know, it's like, maybe like the Louis C.K. thing. It's like a way of venting your guilt or something. You try to like shift it to somebody else and be like, see what he's doing? Because internally maybe it makes you feel better because someone's getting punished for what you're also guilty of. I don't know. Whatever the science behind it is, it's undeniable that I've said undeniable a lot of times today. It's hard to argue that that's not a direct connection, that people who are like super homophobic end up being people who can't handle the fact that they had a gay thought or something. And sometimes that's all it is. It's just like your brain being like, I don't know, I'll think about this for a second, but then you're like, no, I'm not into that.
Like, I think didn't Mike Pence actually go to like this sort of heterosexual
he believes in like conversion camps and shit.
Yeah, conversion camp. I think he actually went to a conversion camp.
He's probably a fucking camp counselor. No joke. Yo, Pence is a joke. That guy is like a robot.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get super political, but
I know.
Thank fuck Trump didn't win. And all the people who are like,
the fact that it was even closed though, like, how would that even be closed?
That's more concerning for sure. Yeah,
71 million people voted for that guy. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah, but I mean, some of them aren't. Some of them are just dense, daft people who are just happy that he's putting food on their plate or whatever.
You know what, actually, I would like to see, and again, because the secret ballot is fine, but I would like to see the amount of so-called progressive rich people that, you know, secretly voted for Trump, but publicly are, like, against it.
They have a different persona in the public eye, yeah. I mean, the biggest takeaway is, like, the people who are like, oh, Biden's so great. I don't think that at all. I just think he was the better of the two. But it's the same thing.
No, for sure.
Like last time with Trump and Hillary. Like, Hillary's a horrible person. If you look up at her, like everything I've heard about her, she seems like a warmongering piece of shit. Just the same as everybody else. She just knows how to put a Martha Stewart kind of smile on everything, and a lot of people fall for that. But I still would have rather she won. Why? Because it would have been the first female president. And guess what? There's going to be little girls that see that, and now they believe I can do that. And then, like, that's going to be awesome for society. It just would have been, even if she's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So
it would be like a stepping stone to a next level or something.
The two-party system and the fact that your two candidates are like these old white guys in their early 70s. At least he's got the VP who's a female and she's got ethnic background.
I think Biden's going to like just either become incapacitated and she's going to become president.
A lot of people have been saying that. That he's going to just kind of bow out at some point and
whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, thank God. I hope so. I mean, everybody needs a fucking chance and everyone needs to feel represented because I don't know. I mean, I don't know even how to put myself in those shoes. I am a white dude. I probably have not dealt with most of the things that other people have dealt with, whether it's, sexism or racism or whatever, or homophobia or, but I try my damnedest to not only connect with those types of people, not the homophobic racists, but people of other ethnicities and sexual orientations and stuff.
Even have compassion with those people. Like sometimes, like,
true. They're misguided a lot of
times. They're misguided.
Yeah.
They were brought up that way or whatever
in the church.
Or in the church. And it's like,
No, but I know what you mean. Like, that's almost where society's getting to now. That's worse. Is like we just throw people under the bus.
I know, right?
Assuming there's no good in them, and sometimes there isn't. But
I forget who is the Jennifer Bridgen, I think, a comic here, has a joke about, like, you know, in Winnipeg, guys are like, you know, I am the man I am today because my dad beat me as a kid.
That's so fucked.
And it's like that pride of being like,
what a fucked up statement.
Yeah, right?
Oh my god.
But it's like, okay, I feel bad for you because you were abused as a child, and you actually like internalize it in a way that makes you feel proud to be. It's like, okay, well, let's sit down and have a beer, have a talk, but. And maybe he's homophobic, maybe he's whatever, but like, there's a story behind everybody that's hurt. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know, so you almost have to.
And a lot of times they're like a huge victim, and they've just been, you know, radicalized by their experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It makes me sad because some people like are too far gone. That's the other thing. Yeah, that's
the sad part too. Yeah.
Especially, maybe it's because of all the fear mongering online or whatever, but like there is this balance, especially now that I have kids and stuff, where like I want to help people, but my main priority is keeping myself and my family safe.
Right.
And it always supersedes. It's like if someone looks a certain level of sketchy, they're covered in scabs or some sort of telltale sign of like this guy might have a knife or whatever, you know, like, and it hurts me.
He might not be well right now. He might be an immediate danger to my safety and my kids. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
College Square over there, I went, this was like, I don't know, 2 summers ago or something. There was this guy who, maybe he's still there. He used to bike around in the parking lot just harassing people for change. Oh. Which, first of all, I gotta say, what the fuck is up with hobos moving to the suburbs? It used to be just downtown, and now I get like some lady outside of the Barhaven Walmart. I'm like, what the fuck? Anyways, it just doesn't make sense. That tells me they probably have a house around here, and they're just doing this like during the day. Well, there's people who do that, man. There's people who panhandle and pretend they're poorer than they are. I used to know street punks who did that, who lived in Orleans and their parents' like nice house, but then they're so street during the day, dumpster diving and shit like that. Like, come on. I don't know, man. There's fucking all types out there. God damn it. Oh yeah, so College Square. Sorry, I keep losing my train of thought. This guy, first of all, his tact was terrible because not only is he asking for change in Nepean, which I think is weird to begin with at a grocery store, but he would like affront you. You just open your car door and he's just like, hey, you got a change? And you're just like, holy fuck, Jesus Christ. I just, you know, and then one day I was like, hey man, you know what? Are you hungry? Like, I'll take you to Subway. You want to get like a foot long or something? But like, tell me your story. Let me know like how you got here. Like because I wanted to like try and give him some kind of advice. Not that I'm some fucking, you know, perfect person who has all my ducks in a row or something, but like, I'm doing better than this guy, so I wanted to try to like be like, or just fill him with positivity or something. Yeah. And it was a really shitty experience. Like he kind of told me a couple sob stories that sounded like he was just a fucked up dumbass who like ruined every opportunity he got. Yeah. Or actually something I've seen happen to a lot of other people. One of my ex's dads was like this, where they'll like give you the shirt off their back, which is so commendable, but not when it's like at your own detriment, where you're like your life is falling apart because all you ever do is trust people way too much, and now you have no money and you can't support your daughter, and like. So there is a balance there, but he told me some stories like that. It made me kind of think, all right, this guy's just made a lot of dumb decisions, which I'm sorry. There's a lot of homeless people with mental illness, a lot of people who had some bad strokes. There's some people who are just fucking assholes, and that's why they're homeless, because they're fucking assholes. Like I don't know. For sure. But so I buy him the sub, and during the purchase, I'm like, oh, do you want a cookie or something? And he's like, yeah. And then like he tells the cashier like, oh, let me get 2 cookies. And I'm just like, whoa, buddy. Like, anyways, I let him get the second cookie, no big deal. But the second we get outside, communication stops. He scarfs down the food and then gets on his bike and just pieces out. Doesn't even say goodbye or thank you or anything. It was just like, it was like finding a wild animal and like feeding it, and then like he responded in the same way. He was like, oh, food is done. I am back on the prowl. It was so weird. It was so subhuman, and it made me feel really sad, but also pissed off that like that's what I get for trying to do the right thing, is some guy making me feel like it was like pointless, and he's just gonna go back to like harassing people to go buy liquor money and you know, or get liquor money rather. That is funny, because if it was an injured bird that you cared for until it was well enough to fly on its own, you wouldn't expect anything from that bird. True, you know, but I mean? if the bird was like preying on people like carrion and acting vulture-ish, and I'm hoping he's gonna become a fucking, I don't know, what's a better bird that doesn't harass human beings? Not a like a fucking blue heron or some majestic winged creature. Yeah, I don't know. I get the analogy you're trying to say though. Yeah. Maybe I put too much expectations on the guy because he's fallen apart as a human being. What am I expecting? He's going to be like, thanks for the sub, I'm going to go apply for a job. You know, like, I don't know. It's a weird, you can't really put yourself in those people's shoes. But I do always think if I got to that point where I was like desperate and like barely surviving, if I did get money, I would try my hardest to like save up a little nest egg to get like a clean shirt, a tie, maybe a razor, and then get a job at like McDonald's, like one of those places that'll hire anybody, you know?
Yeah.
And slowly, easier said than done though. Oh my God, like I sound like a dick, I'm sure.
I know.
But you privilege. But again, some of these guys get themselves into these situations. That's something that no one ever says. No one ever says that. Everyone's always like, you don't know what he's been through.
Oh,
you mean when he used to beat his kids and drink too much? Like sometimes that's the reality. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure the Mission is not a fun place. That's all I'm saying.
No, for sure. And I feel bad, especially during the pandemic, like those guys. I remember actually I parked at right in front of Poor Boy. I was doing an open mic there. They do like a dumpster show.
Yeah, we've talked about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so I parked right there, and this guy like comes and knocks on my window, and I was like, at first I was like, I turn on, pull down my window, and he's like yelling at me. He was like, okay, well, you're not wearing a mask. I gotta fucking, get out of here. And then I get out, and he's like, you got any change, whatever? I got debit. There's a debit machine right there. And like, he's super aggressive about it, right? Like super aggressive. I've never seen that before, because I think they're actually becoming more desperate because of the pandemic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, imagine being homeless during the pandemic.
Exactly,
it's gotta be extra
right?
fucked.
Yeah. So I walk away, and he says to me, he's like, well, this is why, you find people slash your tires. Like a direct threat to me because I didn't want to give him money. I was like, dude, man, I don't have any small change. Yeah, because
that's going to make you want to give him money.
Yeah. So now he knows I'm parked right there. I'm going there. So I was thinking in my head, like, do I just like drive away, like park somewhere else?
You probably should. Yeah.
Yeah. And eventually, I just like I asked him, I was like, is that a threat? And I actually like stepped up to him a bit, and he like sort of backed off and everything. But it was like, holy shit, like things are getting pretty crazy out there. Like it could get pretty crazy if like, if homeless people like just
start to revolt
and start attacking people.
Dude, man, when I went to
I feel bad for the guys. Like, obviously like he got drove to that point.
Yeah, no one wants to be that guy. Yeah,
of course.
But they're delusional half the time. They're whether it's drugs or like mania, like they're a lot of time it's mental illness, and I feel really bad about that. I just don't know how to fix it either. I'm not like...
Well, I don't think we can fix it individually.
But hey, I'm not serving at a soup kitchen either, so I could probably do more, realistically.
Yeah.
Damn it, man. I always have these fucking things I want to say, and then I totally forget. It was something about homeless people, and it's gone.
Let's hope we never get there. Hopefully.
What, homeless?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that for sure. No, here's the difference. I'm actively making sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean, something could horrible happen to you that puts you out on your ass, I suppose. But, like, I don't know. A lot of it's just, like, planning and being responsible. And that's hard when you're already... some people don't get a fair shot. That's the worst part about homelessness is some people's parents suck or they're poor from the get-go. Oh, my God, I have to pee. Is that... Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, dude.
Sure.
I chugged 3 beers and we're at that point.
But
I knew we've been talking for a while.
I know.
I wonder if we drove everybody away. All this religion talk and swearing.
Whatever. It's all good.
Oh.
One thing I did want to say about last thing about homeless people is that I think I empathize with, I don't know if you feel the same, but I empathize with homeless people a lot because I'm like, I see them and I'm like, I'm one bad decision away from being you right now.
True.
Like I could see myself just throwing my life away and like just doing like just making a really bad decision and being on the streets. You know what I mean? Like,
well, sometimes you make a bad
decision
and then
addiction. Like if I start heroin, like for example, I would love to try heroin. I've never tried it, obviously.
Don't. I would say I never have, but I would say
I
don't.
I know. I obviously
all my
don't.
favorite musicians are dead because of heroin. So.
Yeah. But any drugs I would get it. I have a very addictive personality. I can see myself just making one bad decision, and it's like, oh, this is me in like 4 years.
Well, besides all my favorite people who are dead because of heroin, there was a podcast with it was a Pete Holmes podcast with a guy named Harris Whittles who's been dead for 5 years or something I think now. But he was really connected with like Sarah Silverman. All these people like were really sad when he passed. And he was a guy who had been a heroin addict. And at the time that the interview was recorded that I listened to, I have no idea. It was probably like, I don't know. I really don't know when it was recorded. But he was clean, I guess, during that period. So they were talking about his addiction. And he said that he described heroin as having a million penises all over your body, and all of them are coming at the same time. And I'm like, good Lord. Like,
if that's an advertisement for hair.
Yeah,
like,
yes. But at the same time, like that, I know a buddy, too, who used to do a bunch of MDMA and stuff. And he said the same thing, sort of. Like, I would try to get him to play, like, a board game. And he'd be like, yeah, I don't really find stuff like that fun anymore. And then he went on this whole rant about how, like, once you try certain drugs, regular life starts to seem kind of, like, boring and shit.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That sounds fucking terrible.
Well, I mean, MDMA is like releases a week's worth of serotonin in one high.
Dopamine and all these other things.
Yeah, so like, obviously
I don't think I tried ecstasy, I think, once when I was a kid, or MDMA or whatever. We got some friend had some. He knew a scientist who was making it, apparently.
Wow.
And we all, like, split tabs. So if I did try, it was, like, half of what I was supposed to take. And I don't really remember it being, like, a huge thing. But, yeah, it's one of those drugs I never really messed with. I did a decent amount of experimenting in my youth. I don't know about you, but...
Mostly weed and psychedelics. That's it.
Well, psychedelics is a broad term, though, right?
Well, just mushrooms.
Oh, okay. So not like acid or peyote or anything like that.
No. I've wanted to try like DMT and other stuff, whatever.
Or ayahuasca or something like that.
Ayahuasca or whatever. But
same here, but it sounds also kind of like quite the episode, you know? Like with peyote and stuff, I think you like throw up for like a day or something before you even, and then you're high for like 3 days after that or something.
Yeah, that's a commitment.
Yeah.
I mean, as a parent, it's like just hard to... Like, where do you find time?
Yeah, it's hard to conceptualize that. Even if you're on vacation or something, it still seems weird to be like checking out on a Monday and coming back to reality on Thursday. Like,
I know, right? A lot can happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure my drug experiences are somewhat tame compared to some. Like, I did coke for 3 months, I want to say. When
really?
When I was about 18.
Never tried that. No.
I don't know. I don't think that's incriminating at this point in my life, but I never paid for it either. I had a buddy whose older brother worked at LCBO, and he, for some reason, kept getting free coke from one of his coworkers. Wow. I think that's probably because a lot of drug people, they want to bring someone else down the path with them. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, if you're doing coke with me, then it's not so bad or whatever. So I don't know. I don't know how he got it free, but it was definitely the real deal. And this was like one of my best friends, and we would do... I don't want to call it a sleepover because the age we were at was probably the wrong term, but, you know, I would crash at his place. We'd stay up watching movies on demand or whatever. Yeah. And his brother kept coming home after work and being like, hey, you guys want to try this? And so there was like a couple months where I got really, not hooked, I don't think, because I was never fiending for it, but I had quite a few late nights staying up and doing coke, and it was like, dude, it was not cool. It's like, or it's not good.
Was the first time really good, though?
It depends on what you mean by really good. Like,
because apparently, like you're always chasing the first time that you got it, and it never lives up.
Yeah, there's probably some truth to that. I remember it feeling like electric. It was just like, I don't think it's good for my personality. I already talk too much. I already want everyone to like, hey, what's up? So I remember feeling like, like you feel like kind of like, oh, so social and so vibrant and like whatever. But it came to a halt pretty quick. I would say I was 18 for the record. I was just figuring my shit out, you know?
Yep.
And after like 2-3 months, I was dating this girl, and she was still in her last year of high school. I had just graduated, and she was like a year behind me or whatever. And she told me to meet her after school, and I stayed up the entire night the night before. My buddy was like, oh, I can't chill tonight, but his brother was like, we could do some go. And we like fear and loathing it. We were like at the river, like walking barefoot in the streams, and like, so he was like feeding it to me in my nose. It was like really not something I'm proud of at all, but I went to meet her at school the next day, and I tried to sleep during the day because I'd been up all night, and obviously it's not easy to sleep when you're like, you know. And I tried to meet her after school, and I passed out on somebody's lawn, like 3 houses away from the school, and she found me and was like, "You need food," or I don't remember. It was like so embarrassing, and that was honestly. I started dating someone else not long after that, and she was like, hey, man, like this shit, I'm not comfortable. I really like you. I think you're fun to be around, and I don't care if you smoke weed or whatever, but like it's just scary to me. Like, and she had a history of like parents who had done hard drugs when she was a kid. Like she found a syringe in her mom's bed when she was like 10 and shit like that. Yeah, so it kind of reeled it in, and I was like, whoa, I don't want to go down this path. And I literally swore off hard drugs since I've been 18. I've never messed with that again. Shrooms is like, you know.
Yeah.
It's microdosing and all that. It's going to be legal in like fucking a month probably.
Probably.
In the States,
eventually.
It's everywhere, man. Like,
they voted on something like Washington, I think, or other states, whatever.
I think it was Ohio or one that just did the other day. They legalized everything. You can buy heroin.
Really?
Yeah. It was all over Twitter.
Decriminalized or?
I think legalized, honestly. Oklahoma or Oregon or it's an O state if I'm remembering correctly.
It makes sense for like a lot of the states where they actually have like an opiate crisis, like where they actually like people should be able to buy their drugs without like being laced
and
with
sharing needles and all that shit.
And, well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like I mean, it's a fucked up. I've always thought that was kind of fucked up. The like houses where you can go and shoot up under supervision. Like, like it's a double-edged
like
sword.
Safe injection sites. And
Exactly. Sorry, that's what they're called. Yeah. In some ways, I'm totally on board, and then other parts of me are totally like, I don't know if this is such a good idea, because are you enabling, but if it's
they're gonna do it anyways.
Yeah, and now they're not sharing needles and spreading HIV and whatever else,
I think it's for the best.
But goddamn, I'm glad I never tried that shit, man. And also,
for sure,
mushrooms though, like. For real, that's going to be legal, and I think that the amount of study that's gone into it and how much of a positive effect it has on depression and anxiety and people, it's turned a lot of people's lives around. And when you think about it, it's like, why is that so messed up? Like, isn't it less messed up than taking some man-made pharmaceutical? Not to shame that if it works for you.
Well, again, it might be the big farmers that are trying to push.
They're going to make like synthetic psilocybin or whatever, and I guess I don't know. That'd be weird. Fake mushrooms seems somehow weird to me too. I might actually enjoy that more because of it's streamlined. It's safe. Like
the one thing I don't like about the mushrooms is the nausea. I
don't know that they could get rid of that. Could they?
I think if they just did like pure psilocybin, I think that might take care of it.
You get really nauseous?
What I was talking to Kia about the time I tried to do like 5 grams, like a heroic.
Yeah, that'll make you nauseous.
Heroic dose, like just basically like spoonful, like, and I had to boil them too. It was getting gross at the end. It was like, oh my god.
No wonder you got. No, you don't need 5 grams.
I know, but that's basically trying to like push your brain to like the ego death.
You're trying to,
and like
I think 2 would do it. Is all I'm saying.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I know. But yeah, no, I do think that mushrooms has like benefits for like addictions and other things, like just enlightenment,
or it's at least something that they should be allowed to explore and do proper trial runs on and all that. But there is something about the fact that like if cultures have been using this for millennia, maybe there's something we can take away from that. I'm not saying we should do exactly what they did, or that it just give out mushrooms to everybody for free. Like, no, I'm not, like, obviously regulate the shit, but I'm hoping that we come to a point where people start to explore ideas and not just like condemn things before even really like doing the proper research, because we got fucked over by like the Reagan era of like this is your brain on drugs and all that shit. It's like drugs can be super bad, but some can be really medicinal and some can be,
well, you can't lump all drugs into one category.
That's like saying all music or all like food or whatever.
I know.
But the proper thing is just allowing people to safely experiment and hopefully streamline something that if people want it, they can at least try it. And like, because I get what you're saying. If you just take your buddy's like, here's some shrooms, you're like all I know is this is something in a bag and I'm hoping it's not gonna mess me up or whatever. Like, I guess what I don't like is like synthesizing like into because they make weed pills too, but it's not weed. It's like they found the THC, chemical compound of weed and then recreated it, but it's not actually growing from the earth. It's not.
It's true.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They did. So I read this book by it was Michael Pollan. It's called How to Change Your Mind. And this author, he wrote a bunch of different books. Like, he never tried psychedelics before, and he tried like shrooms. He tried DMT, and he tried whatever. And he just just as an author and a researcher tried to do these drugs and write about them. And that made me want to try them so much.
Oh, I've seen this guy on Rogan, I think.
Yeah.
He had never done it before, and then
never done it before.
Oh man, that was such a good episode.
And you could tell, like, it's not just like this, this whatever these wackos are trying. This, like, it does have a real impact on.
That was the perfect
psyche.
Guy, because he was not some stoner. He was like, I don't really like.
He was
drugs,
a respectable author. Yeah. He had written books like The Omnivore Dilemma and whatever. And
he approached it like a science experiment.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah,
that's so cool.
So, but I had tried shrooms before that, and now that I've read this, like, I definitely want to try ayahuasca and DMT and all those things, whatever. But it's like it's a commitment. It's like all those things you have to travel.
And I worry, is it going to break your brain? That's what I worry. Like, is it going to push your brain over? Maybe it's not right for me or something. It just seems like such a hefty commitment of like, this is my brain we're talking about,
Yeah,
I guess it's the same with shrooms or whatever, but but I don't really like mess with those in a big way at all. I'm kind of old for that shit,
Yeah.
But when I was younger, oh yeah, dude, I got like injured on shrooms once. I think I've told this on my podcast, but I was about 15, 16, and it was not the first time I had done them. It was maybe probably a dozen or less times for sure. And it was pretty cool. We're all hanging out, whatever, and people decided to go down to the river. that's a cool place to chill when you're on shrooms, right?
Sure.
And at some point, my friends, one friend in particular, a great guy though, he got obsessed with how cool gravity was, and he started like throwing rocks up in the air and letting them like fall down, you know? And I was like tripping out. I don't remember every detail, but I remember just like sitting down on this log and being like, and then just hearing like, oh my God, Oliver, look out. And then kind of just like being like, and this fucking huge rock like this that had been quite a, decent amount above me landed actually in the same spot that I
dislocated your shoulder.
Maybe I like did some pre-work on that. Maybe it was ready to crack out or whatever. But it was so intense. I remember everybody heard this like rock hitting bone sound. And everybody looked at me just like, oh, like how is he not like on the ground right now? And I went into shock. I started sweating a bunch. I took like almost all my clothes off because I was like, you guys, it probably was, a lot of it was just anxiety. Like I'm like, should I be in the hospital? I don't know. I can't really feel pain right now. And like, I think this might be serious, but I'm kind of laughing about it. So I called my mom. And she came pick me up. Because, like, my parents are awesome people, and even at that age, I knew I could count on them. They always told me, like, if you're too drunk at a party, fucking call us.
That's nice. That's nice.
So I called my mom, and it was, like, a really special experience to me because she ended up being, like, I don't know that I told my dad at the time. I think I was like, yo, keep it on the down low. But I told her I was on shrooms, and I told her, my mom was a bit of a hippie in her own day, and she didn't judge me. She was just there for me like my mom, you know what I mean? She put me up in her bed, which was like the bed you go in when you're staying home from school. It was so comfy. They got the big king size or whatever. Watching TV and just having these deep conversations with my mom. And so in that ways, it was kind of a wicked experience. Like I look back at it now and I'm like kind of glad it happened because I think it brought us closer together and it made me remember how much I could trust and rely on my parents when shit gets real, you know?
Yeah.
So
I wish I can be that parent for my kids.
Well,
that they feel comfortable.
Well, I do that for my kids, but the other end of that is if I imagine one of my kids doing that at 15 now, when my kids are like, I mean, they're not that close. My son's almost 12. My daughter's 10.
Shit, huh?
So yeah, my son's in junior high now. So like,
wow.
He's not that kind of kid. I don't really think he's going down that path anyways. But I try to like reverse that situation and go like, I don't think I would be that cool. I think I'd be like, you never do this.
Yeah.
It's the whole like do as I say, not as I do kind of shit. But that's unrealistic to some degree.
Yeah.
Some of those experiences probably made me who I am, and I'm not perfect, but everybody's got to take their own journey, and as long as my kids are safe, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Anyway, what a great time this has been. Yeah, honestly, man, thank you so much for. I feel like we should probably.
It feels like this is a positive way of wrapping up this episode. Yeah. On a positive note, trying to be a good person and for our kids, and
have parent-child shroom conversations.
Yeah.
No.
Absolutely.
Please don't.
Feed shrooms to your kids. Try to sneak into their, Yeah. No.
Is this like a record breaker for time or no?
I might be, yeah.
It's happened before. I'm not surprised. I always talk too much, but
no, it's great. I just love having conversations about religion, drugs, whatever it is.
Yo, please come on my show, man.
Yeah,
too.
anything that goes on.
I love when I talk with people, and you're someone who's like just super easy to chat with. So
I feel like we're similar. Like you were saying, like we're 2 years apart. We have like similar
learning music.
Probably, yeah.
We have both comedy.
Very similar backgrounds.
But you know what though? That doesn't always play into it. I've had podcasts with people that I have like not a lot in common with and still found a palpable energy or whatever.
Yeah.
So that, take it for what it is. I just find you easy to talk to and that's awesome when I have a guest on that I already know. We have that like Simone's going to come on soon, and I did her show during the pandemic and talked to her for like, I broke her record. We talked for like 2 hours, 10 minutes or something like that. And and now when I have her on, it's going to be just like the chillest vibe ever because it's not like I'm interviewing not to say she's not great. She's awesome, but like, anyways, it's always weird when you go into an interview like without like any real ice breaking, you just kind of dive in. I mean, it could be cool too, but anyway.
It's the fuck. That's the weird part. Is like the only thing I almost wanted to talk to you about is like, oh, but you had Strombo, you had all those things. Like talk about your podcast. We didn't talk about.
I mean,
any
we
of
can
that.
do it in 5 minutes now.
No,
if you want. No, not even.
You're not even.
I can't even promo my shit. No.
But I wanted you to plug your shit. Plug. What do you have to plug for your season 2's coming out?
So what we just talked about, I started my podcast in October 2019. Kyle Brownrigg was the first guest, and that to me was huge at the time. He is huge. Yeah, exactly. He's awesome. He's amazing. And such a nice guy. I started by interviewing a lot of local comics, a photographer friend of mine who was featured in Esquire and a couple other wicked magazines. And then, Strombo came on my show. If you don't know the story, I Instagram commented on something saying like, oh, if you're ever in Ottawa, there's a seat for you here. And
he happened to be flying in and you picked him up the airport.
He's like, I'm going to be in Ottawa tomorrow. Yeah. And I'm like, all right. like I wasn't going to back down at that point. I'm like, fuck, this would be huge.
Yeah.
And not only that, but I respected the guy my whole life, and I've watched countless interviews that he did, and always respected his style and the way that he makes people feel so comfortable. That's what I told him. Is like Conan O'Brien is the same way. There's a lot of interviewers that I really respect their ability to make someone feel like they're talking to a friend and just really open up. And I think I have a knack for that as well, to some degree, depending on the interview. But anyways, so Strombo came on, and then I decided logically to like try to lean into that and be like, hey, guess who came on my show? And that helped me to get in contact with some other big guests. So 32 episodes, season 1. We had Strombo, we had DJ Noah from Ottawa.
Yep.
We had
Biff Naked,
Kim Mitchell, Spenny from Kenny vs. Spenny.
Yeah, that was huge, right?
He
dropped like a story that he had never told before.
I don't know about that. He probably said a few. I don't know. I haven't watched all his interviews, but that was huge just because they have a crazy fan base.
Yeah.
And like that video is doing better than any of my other stuff. Even the clips I put up for Spenny are doing better than like every other episode.
No, sorry, it was because he got a call from his mother.
His mom called during the podcast, and he told a story about taking a massive dab.
That's the one. Yeah,
and I knew the guy who was his tour manager, and he sent me the video.
Got the actual clip from him.
So it was magical. Yeah, I couldn't have.
That's stuff that you can't write. Yeah.
So I had Darren Frost on, really great comedian. Hal and Joanne from Body Break.
Right.
And then I ended the season with Joey and Snake from Degrassi. So it was like,
fuck, that's a really impressive lineup.
32 episodes, no promotion, no advertising.
Just a guy
who emails people incessantly.
With a cool fucking, really cool studio though.
Thank you. And I'm not trying to toot my own whistle here because, watch my show and make up your own decision. It's not going to be for everybody, I guess. But I try to be open-minded. Hopefully people will dig it. And season 2 should be kicking off in December. I'm hoping. I have a really big guest who's supposed to be driving down in a couple weeks. I'm still figuring out the details. I'm not going to spoil it, but that should be the season 2 premiere. Fingers crossed. And if not, just expect more awesome Ottawa comics. And, I'm doing it because I love this kind of shit, man. Like, these are the memories that I really cherish, just like somebody you don't know that well, but by the end you feel like, oh man, this guy's like a friend now, or girl or whatever. Maybe.
Sure.
So thank you for listening. If you have listened to the end, I'm expecting Janelle will probably watch the whole thing. Janelle's an amazing supporter of my show and just a great person for Ottawa comedy.
I'm pretty sure my kids will have watched the whole thing. They're like, go to bed right now. It's getting late.
Cannibalism and all.
Yeah, cannibalism and sex toys.
Okay. Go sit on a cake and go to bed.
Yeah, exactly. Oliver George, thank you so much. Honestly, it's been great.
No, I'm honored to be on.
Really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Peace
out. See you guys later. Peace.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
That was good, man.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
Oh, man. There's nothing that makes me feel more alive than podcasting.